Fear Files is a complete standalone expansion pack series that combines the award-winning Fear Extraction Point and Fear Perseus Mandate together in one box. Experience new weapons, new enemies, new missions, and brand new multiplayer maps. It's twice the fear in one box.
Hello, and welcome to GFW Radio. This is the podcast for February 13th? 13th. We're doing one of those recording one day, then skipping a day, then posting things like we did last week. So we're recording this on the 11th. We're not doing anything on the 12th, and then we're posting it on the 13th.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
Right.
Glad you sorted that out.
Okay, so now that that's all
know.
straight, I have one more thing I have to do, because otherwise it's going to be bothering me the whole rest of the podcast. Yeah, okay.
You've been doing that for like the last 20
I know.
minutes.
I've had the Wild Kingdom thing in my head for like an hour, and I've been doing it at my desk. I've been doing it here, and you guys didn't want me to start the show that way, but I did it anyway. So fuck you. Okay, I'm done. What's your name?
Ryan Scott. What's your name?
I'm Jeff Green.
Awesome.
We have a special guest here this week, and he is
Anthony Gallegos, mycheats.com.
Hi, Anthony.
Welcome.
Welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to have you here. And back from his mysterious vacation with the so-called Hans.
For one week and final week, I'm here.
Yep.
Sean Elliott. This will be my last, as you know,
Hey,
GFW.
moving on up to the big time.
That's it.
You finally
End of
got
an
a
era.
piece of the pie there, Shawn.
Yeah. It wasn't like that, but it was just they said I can only do one podcast a week, so I'm on one of yours starting this week.
Yeah, we see how it is. That's great. That's real good. Congrats.
And who else is here?
Sean Malloy. I'm not going anywhere. No one wants me.
You're stuck here, like the rest of us. Hi. So, we have a lot to talk about. We
Great
do.
start.
We do, but
We
it's
do
stupid
this
to hear
time.
you say it.
It is.
And it's just one of those things I have to
Sounds
say
like we're having that talk.
What?
Oh, yeah, that talk.
Oh.
Lovers.
No one likes that talk.
Jeff, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, why don't you come in and close the door? Yeah. Bring your code and your key card. Yeah. Well, first of all, we need to get this done. The infamous cab ride that Shawn and I had weeks ago.
Oh, you've been teasing this.
We've been teasing that. Folks have been asking about it. I think we're finally going to do that. We're going to do the cab story.
It's going to be anticlimactic, though.
Well, it is. It's actually not that great. It's just it's been built up now in people's minds.
It was very smart of you to knock it down just now. So
You see, now I've lowered their
Expectations are raised
expectations.
again.
This is the stupidest fucking story ever.
okay, we'll go.
So go
Hey,
ahead,
at least
Shawn.
it makes sense now.
Now we're going to put it in the
cab ride
context.
occurred on the way back from a visit that Jeff and I made to EA Maxis Studios in Emeryville, California to see Spore.
Right, and we
So,
weren't allowed to talk about
After
it
the
2 weeks
shitty cab
ago.
story, we can get into Spore.
Into Spore, right.
Hands on.
So after the Spore event, which we will talk about later, we took a cab ride home back to Berkeley, Shawn and I. And that cab... Oh, wait, who else was in the cab with us?
Cesar from Game Videos and the One Up Show.
That's right. In fact, that's how the conversation started, right? Because the three of us got into this cab. We had to call a cab at like 10:30 at night in Emeryville from the Amtrak station in Emeryville, train station. This cab comes, and the three of us get in there, and Cesar has his big camera.
The big, nice HD.
Right. Really nice video camera that he puts in the cabbie's front seat. And the first thing that the cab says is, what did he say? Like, are you guys cops or wait? What was it? He gave us a choice of two.
I don't know how well we can do the accent, but
Yeah.
he was an Arab guy.
Yeah.
And he had a thick Arab accent. He's like, "Are you police?" We're like, no.
That's not a good way to start a conversation.
He had another choice though. He was taking a second guess with the video. I forget what it was.
Like, did he thought we were like recording porno or something?
Something. Yeah.
Well, those are the options.
It was
Police
illicit
or
no matter
porn.
what.
Yeah, we were like,
mogul.
no, we're like a media company, you know.
Then we said media. Then what? It was something else ridiculous too. Or I don't know. It was weird. He thought we were. Why would we have an HD camera if we're police anyway? Like maybe detectives or something. But
Maybe he's only seen the show Cops.
Well, the reason
the only-
is because all the rest of what he said was police related, right? I mean,
he thought
that's
you were
why.
Chris Hansen and we were going to drive him over to Sally Susie's house.
Yeah, so you take it from here. Where'd it go from here?
Let's try to remember. Well, first off, he just starts. In general, it's not. I don't know. Some people like talkative cabbies.
Yeah.
Others don't. I'm in the party where I'd rather just like sit there and listen to whatever messed up music's going, and just enjoy the ride.
He was one of those talky cabbie guys. Yeah, he talked the whole way.
He started off with this like hot story of how he had witnessed a hit and run, and then he decided, while his vehicle wasn't struck, he decided that he was going to be like a vigilante, cab driving Punisher and chase the guy down. So
because if he sees something wrong, he's the kind of guy that's got to do something.
Yeah, dude. Which he emphasized over and over. That was this. Yeah, he had like a chorus to his story that he would repeat, like a Chris Rock stand-up routine.
Yeah. Maybe some people don't do anything. I'm the kind of guy who's got to do something. So, I see something wrong, I'm going to fix it.
So he's describing this high-speed chase and, like pulling the handbrake and flipping 180s around intersections and shit and chasing a guy through a tunnel, eventually losing him, but then going back to the scene and calling the police. And a large piece of the vehicle's bumper was there, and it had the license plate on it or something.
Right, and understand that, like, the three of us are just sitting in the back seat, and nothing prompted this. It wasn't. It was like a complete one-sided conversation. He just starts telling us the story.
So then he's like, they ended up. I mean, we could throw the time lapse on this part of the story because it went on and on. But in the end result, they tracked the car back to like the house or something, and they knock on the door, and the police officer knocks on the door, and it's like some like quiet old guy in his slippers that answers, and it turns out it was his son, pulled the shenanigans, and then just slipped the cab driver, or thought he did, and then went back home. So we're like, okay, like that was the build up, and then he just again was emphasizing he couldn't witness a crime and not do something to prevent it, and then all of a sudden he's like, you know what, I would do anything for this country. Like, I will, there's nothing I wouldn't do for this country. And like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, we didn't question that, and then all of a sudden he's like, but I'm not a snitch. And then he starts saying, he's like, you know what? Then the police put, I don't know if it was like right after, but then he starts saying, he's like, one time, he's like, that's one thing. I got thrown in jail because okay, I'm fucking it all up. This is why it was so bizarre. Then he says, we're just commenting on him and on his good deeds, on his like upright.
Yeah, we're basically just like humoring him. We're just, that's great.
And he's like, I work with the police. I know all the police. And he's like, but one time they threw me in jail, and we're like, oh, well, why was that? They're all getting nervous and shit. Like it's a crypt keeper, we're like in a fucking horror movie swing or something going tragically wrong. And then he's like, because I wouldn't talk, and we're like, that's weird. Jeff's like, I don't know of anyone that's got put in jail for not saying something. And then he's like, I don't snitch.
Yeah, I'm no snitch.
And he's like, I would do anything for this country, but I won't snitch. And then it sounded like
it was like they were trying to turn him into being an informant against, terrorists.
Yeah, he was
something.
like
turned into a whole
like
national
Iraq
security thing, and he's no snitch. He loves his country, but he's no snitch.
So at that point, then we're starting to trickle off. Cesar's the first to get out, and then we're sitting there, and I know Jeff and I were both looking at each other like, shit, who's going to be the last one in this fucking cab tonight? And I know it was me because I lived the farthest away. And then we started pulling this maneuver where I was like, oh, well, Jeff, you're using your corporate card for this cab. Maybe you want to swing by my place first.
Yeah. And then the cabbie hears that, and he goes, no, he can just pay, and then I'll let you out after.
Yeah, dude. I was like,
yes.
Fuck, man. So then
see you, Shawn.
He's got another story after that, and then it's that he...
Oh, God, yeah, that's
he witnessed... he saved some guy from getting or some guy was getting stabbed.
A cop.
He pulled over and saved his life. Well,
a cop.
Yeah, we found the cop part out later.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, and, so I couldn't let it happen. As if my fellow man, I couldn't let him happen. We're like, wow, man, you got balls. For one, chasing another car after a hit and run in Oakland, I wouldn't fucking do that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Anthony, you live in Oakland too. Would you do that?
Hell no.
Fuck no. So we're like, you're one. As Duke Nukem would say, balls of steel. And then he's like, oh, yeah, and it was a police officer, too.
Yeah, it was a police officer who got stabbed, and this super cabbie here, saved the stabbed policeman.
And he's got, so now he's got some,
Maybe it all
kinship
happened.
with the police officer, and he'll stop in his store. He kept talking about his store, which is going to come into the story later. And then, so this is going on, and I'm just like, Jeff, you keep looking at me with this fucked up face, and I'm like, dude, the cab driver's looking in a rearview mirror every 2 seconds. I'm not going to trade like looks with you, eye rolling.
Yeah, I keep looking at Shawn
this
like,
guy is telling his story.
Can you believe this guy? Yeah, and then he called me on it at one point. He goes,
he was like, do I talk too much? That was weird, because when you meet someone who's just like a loon, that's one thing. But when they're aware that they're scaring you, and then they keep doing it,
bad news.
Yeah, he might have caught my look of what the hell's going on in this cab? Do I talk too much? Maybe I shouldn't talk so much.
And then he just started another story.
Yeah. So
eventually, you get out, and then you go to pay with your card, and he wasn't prepared for that. And he's like, "Well, can you? I'm gonna rub your card on a piece of paper." But it wasn't even like blue paper or whatever. It was like a piece of. He was doing some like old school. It was the Dr. Science show. Was that old guy's
Crayon
name?
rubbings.
Yeah,
this was
basically
so
where you take a
suspect.
quarter and rub a pencil over it in a piece of paper. He pulled that maneuver on it, and then he said it's going to show up to a fucking grocery store.
Yeah, it said I don't have my Visa set up for this cab, so it's going to go to my store. So when you get your bill, it's going to say like something grocery store.
A&G grocery.
A&G grocery store.
All right,
yeah.
that's great.
Which no doubt is some kind of terrorist front. Probably on some most wanted list now.
Oh, dude.
Anyway, it was just a weird end to the Spore event.
And then,
We just wanted to go home.
I was like, actually, that where you're like, am I just being an idiot? Like, dude, this guy's just chilling. He's just like, he's got good stories, a fucking storyteller, and I can appreciate that. But it would actually cross my mind. When we were going, I made sure I didn't have my seatbelt on, and the door was unlocked in case I had to kick it open and pull a rolling fucking escape, like some GTA shit, But he just kept talking about his store, because I asked him, I was like, man, do you got to go to your store when you get off this shift tonight? And then he was just saying how his brother runs the store mainly, and he goes in there now and then. And he let me out. And I was like, have a good night. Oh, and then he kept giving me tons of his cards, telling him anytime I need a cab ride, I need to call him.
Yeah, we'll be sure.
And I was like, I was thinking about it after, I'm still alive. I'll do it again.
And if you got stabbed, he'd be a good guy to have around.
That's no joke, man.
Yeah.
I think everyone's had that cab ride before.
Yeah, he definitely was that cab ride. And it was just one of those, I've had those many times before. And, we were at that event. It was 10 o'clock at night. It was a weekday. And I was just like, oh, no. It's just going to be one of those rides.
Yeah.
And then it was. Can't you just drive? Shit.
So that was coming back from Spore.
Yeah. So now we can talk about Spore.
Going backwards in time.
Going backwards in time. I thought it looked good.
Did you like Spore?
I did like Spore. I said it on One Up Years a week ago, and had Garnet scoff at me or whatever about it. But
you serious?
Yeah, you could talk about that when
you're on.
What
the fuck has gotten into those guys? They were scoffing at you about Spore?
Yep, a little bit.
Why?
I don't know. I guess it's maybe the backlash of it being so long since anybody's seen anything on it, or I think this game has sort of gotten that I'll see it when it comes out now.
Right.
Maybe it's just been
That's
around
understandable.
so long.
Yeah.
That's not scoffing at it.
The biggest question I've always had is just because we've seen all of the individual pieces and we've kind of been told what they are. Like, okay, this phase is the tribal phase, this phase is the cellular phase, but how it all works together as a game still eludes me.
Well, what's interesting is that at this event, they didn't really answer that question. Like, they in fact had all the different stages divided up into separate stages physically at the Maxis building.
Yeah, there are numerous stations situated throughout their studio, and you'd move from one to another. And the problem was, I thought it's a difficult game in general to demonstrate to someone, I think, but given that sort of compartmentalizing, approach that they took there, it just was a disservice to the game, because you'd hop at one station, all of a sudden you're with like 3 other journalists. You don't want to ask your best questions. You're saving those for when you got like one-on-one time with Will Wright and and Lucy Bradshaw, who's executive producer on the game. And when you sit down, you're not like you're seeing entirely different characters. It's not like various iterations of the same game, where you see someone create one creature on station 1, move over and see the same creature, on its next phase, and they're like, okay, pay attention, I'm going to make a few decisions here, and you can see the carryover on the next station you go to. There was none of that. It was just basically you go into one, see something, move on to another, and see something else. And the problem, and the other problem was that, well, I don't know if it's a problem so much as, indicative of what the game is every station's personnel was super interested in emphasizing the character, the creature creation, just the content creation system of the game. You make spaceships and buildings and cities and things like this. So most of it, right, was just they were in menus adding parts to things and
that's
moving
true.
around and morphing them, and it looks entirely fun and cool.
Right.
But
And for some people that is going to be
well, what's the
a big
game
part of the
aside
game.
from that, right?
Yeah. That's true, and a lot of that they didn't spend a lot of time on. It's true.
I was able to get stuff that was reassuring, but so, kind of going now chronologically rather than in reverse order. That was where I was at first. After I had made the rounds from the first two stations, I was like, God, because I had always been afraid that this game is going to end up like a monster mix-up book, where you have like 3 panels, right? And they're on each page is another monster, but then you're able to flip the top, the center, and the bottom pieces to get these various Star Trek combinations. And I was like, that's like super fun, but I wanted something else from it. And that because I'm very into, evolutionary biology, sociology, so many of the things that are even theology, all these things that the game touches on in one form or another, or at least promise to touch on. And I really want to see, when I go into it, I'm far more interested in, say, like when there's a rival tribe, it's the same species as yourself, and they're saying, well, what you need to do is basically unite all of your tribes into a proper civilization so that you're, moving from a tribal state to a civilization state. And they're like, you can do this by fighting them or by sort of befriending them. And then when there's like a button that pops up on the screen and it's like press A to fight or press B to give them a present, then I was able to ask, well, what happens? Can you go over there and watch them instead and see what their food source is? Can I destroy their food source and then will they starve? And they would be like, oh yeah, you can. Can I go over there and sort of create this equivalent of a selection pressure on their society by plying them with gifts and musical performances and things, and then get their guard down so that their culture stops developing, spears and warfare, weapons to wage warfare with, and then pull out my guns, a Trojan horse scenario, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure you could do that too. Or depending on the question I asked, someone had already tried it or you could. Mm-hmm. And that was super fascinating to me. That's what makes the character customization worthwhile.
Right. Basically, practically, it seemed every question we asked them, and would this work? It was almost always yes, no matter what it was, in terms of how your species would evolve, how it would evolve versus other species that were in the world, and even what would happen to your species in other people's games. Mm-hmm. Or there was even the the notion of what happens when one of your species gets abducted.
Right. Let's back it up first and explain
Yeah.
how the game works now, because they filled in some of the blanks on how it works with other people. So it's like a multiplayer game that you never directly interact with other players with. We've known that, but here's an example of how
massively single players, that's the buzzword they use.
Mm-hmm. And the way that works is by you create a bunch of content and you're able to send it to a friend or whatever, or they're able to search for it. They're able to subscribe to your content. Like YouTube is the model here, and YouTube's going to come into play, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But so say you create a whole bunch of stuff, and people are like, "Oh, this guy did some really cool things in the past. Maybe he made an entire bestiary that is composed of creatures that are the shapes of the alphabet, so there's an A creature, a B creature, and so on and so forth. People really like that, and they might want to subscribe to the content, and they could download that entire creature set as one thing. Or maybe you're like entirely sprung on the Beatles' Yellow Submarine, and you're making like blue meanies and yellow submarines and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. You could port that over to their, you can import it from someone else if they make it, and they can tag it. You could search for these things, just like, again, like a YouTube. You put, whatever titles you want on there. So
YouTube and podcasting is another analogy. And in fact, they call them Spore-casts. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you know that Shawn Malloy is a great Spore content maker, you just subscribe to Shawn Malloy, and every time you create something, it would just automatically get uploaded to my machine, my single-player game. I don't want to do that?
No,
okay, but for example.
And that's the other fun thing in the game, because rather than, like, the game is not, so, you know, the lover of biology and things like that in me is disappointed to find out that the game is not interested in natural selection at all. I mean, it's clearly an intelligent design sim, right, where you have people just creating things however they want. There's no repercussions. Like, hey, I want to have fins on my back feet and hoofs on my front one. It's not like the world and selection pressures are going to punish me for making this stupid monster. And that's why I said the monster mix-up book. You know?
Wait, but I thought that they said that your creature can fail in the universe.
You can. I'll get that into a minute, but let me finish this thought, though, because what it is with the Spore-casts and the content and the cross-pollination there is like aesthetic or like ideational selection. So survival of, you know, the hippest in this sense. So you can then track and see, what if this creature you made turned out to be the most popular among all Spore users? There's like multiple millions of copies of this thing gone around. That's like another way of saying, like, oh, I mean, so what it constitutes like a fit design as far as coolness, you know? It's like Pokemon, like the guy that made the Pokemon that all the kids loved and latched onto and wrote fanfic about having sex with. So waiting for you to smile.
There probably will be some Spore.
So the players are like a pantheon of gods vying for the favor of other players. I don't understand how do you find out
what
like,
happens is when you okay, wait, sorry, finish that.
Well, this is an unrelated question, but part two, how do you know, how does it tag in the game that you are seeing someone else's monster walking around, or is it completely transparent?
No, I'm sure what you would do is you'd probably click on the creature and then pull up some information.
Yeah,
you know, an information
I think some of it is. I would imagine in the game world itself, it'll be transparent. You'll just see these creatures going around, and they're going to be from other people's games. And yeah, you probably won't know until you're clicking. I may have that wrong, but that's how I was
right. You can definitely do that. And if you want to go raw dog, which is slang expression for sex without a condom, that's like you open all of your ports in the game and you just
let
you
it
take
all in
content
there.
from anyone, and then, but it's like it's the worst thing that's going to happen.
Will Wright
there.
use that term too?
Will Wright was like, if you want to go raw dog, he's like, don't worry, you'll see a creature that looks like a boner. You'll be driving a car that's shaped like a boner, and its planet will be a giant set of balls.
This.
No, but that's about
I
as
assume
bad
you're
as
going to
it's
get
gonna
plenty of that. Yeah,
that's about as bad as it's going to get. It's
They
not
actually,
like
in fact, they actually talked about that. Lucy Bradshaw, the executive producer, talked about, you know, being a mom and being the executive producer of this game, you know, of a game in which other people's content was going to come into your game, and they are going to totally have filters to prevent that kind of stuff from happening.
How?
So you're not going to see like a swastika creature running around.
Well, how's it going to filter it? Is it some guy?
You filter and
You
say,
filter.
I'm not going to accept content other than from approved people.
Right.
Okay.
It's like a friends
Or I'm not
list.
going to accept any.
All right, so it's not like smartly deciding that this thing looks like a penis.
No,
So I'm not going to let it in.
No, it's not doing that.
it's more like your aim list or something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The other thing, though, is it was funny to hear Jeff and Lucy talk about this because, you know, both of you guys are parents, and so you were like, oh, yeah, your whole concern was what you don't want to come into your game. And while I was listening, well, of course, the griefer in me is like, what can I put in?
Can I create?
But it was
I
also
sneak through?
But it was also the fun of like, and I didn't get a chance to ask them. They had, you know, limited time, but about modding opportunities where you can have greater freedom to control the variables and the characteristics of your creature, not just their superficial, you know, appearance, but their attributes like reproduction rates and stuff, so that you can make the equivalent of a tribble or something in some like hypothetical mod where you create these creatures that go in and just, you know, multiply like rabbits and just get out of hand, or things that like maybe that they seem entirely inert and they're just there and they're fine, but after like, you know, 30 generations, then they evolve into something that just becomes like absolutely catastrophic for whatever the planet is or something like that. But fun things, you know, I mean, like that. You're like, yeah, that's real fun.
What kind of stats do your creatures have? You're talking like reproduction rate or whatever.
They don't. Don't control that, but you have.
You get to like look at them though.
You determine. I mean, when you put on, say for example, when you're coming out of the primordial pool and you decide that you're going to have talons as opposed to web feet, that will start pushing you along a path where you're going to be a carnivore or something, right? You're going to want to do something with those talons. Same thing with like if you have like a duck bill for sifting muck, or if you have, you know, like an eagle's bill, eagle's beak. And that's going to determine if you're like in your early stages, if you're going to be a creature that sort of just gets by with the equivalent of diplomacy and stuff, making other creatures happy, and or if you're just simply put an herbivore and you're eating plants and stuff, or if you're eating other creatures. But nothing so extreme though, where it's like, I mean, now here's what you said: there are fail conditions where you have to have eyes at some point. That would be an example, and it's going to make you get them. And if you go in, I think it'll let you go in, but then you'll see that your creature can't do anything, and then it's like that's your way of saying, we'll back it up and develop echolocation. No, it's not like that. I wish it was. Or like go live in a cave. Like a blind cave creature.
Yeah, isn't it kind of like they will like kind of set you back, won't they?
Yeah, you can. I mean, that was interesting. You can die, that you could fail, not because after a while you don't control just one creature, but entire populations,
right?
And so you can get to these. The fact that you can get to a fail state was surprising to me because the game's so flexible. It'd be fairly. It seems like it'll be fairly easy, and actually, Will Wright confirmed that it is fairly easy to create these scenarios where it's impossible to proceed, or something. You just some creature comes into play and you just can't deal it, or you made the wrong decisions and it's like you're just absolutely unprepared to handle whatever turn of events. So what will happen is they'll pull you back to the very beginning of that phase, and there's 5 phases in the game. There's like the cellular state, the primitive animal creature game, then there's the tribe game, the civilization game, and then the space game. And they'll just bump you back to the beginning of that.
And that's not a really unreasonable thing to do. I mean, there's certainly a whole legacy of strategy games, even Sims games, where your city might evolve to a place where you just fucked up.
Right.
Your town layout or whatever, you've gotten yourself into a place, or maybe the way you manage the economy, you've just hit a dead end. So I didn't feel like having a fail state in Spore be anything but kind of logical.
So at what points are you allowed to go in and basically play God? Is it just at the transitional things where you attach the eyes and stuff, or can at any point you reach your hand in the middle of the tribal phase, for example, and say, oh, they're not doing very well without this limb, so I'm going to stick an arm on?
At any point in the game, as far as I understood it, you can alter them and manipulate them, and that's because you get evolution points or you get social points or things depending on the phase you're playing.
So that could be a way to get out of.
Add on, like say it's like I have enough social points, I'm going to buy spike clubs for my creatures, and that would be another equivalent. Like armor and stuff will have different roles. Like a ceremonial headdress might make you that much more likelier to please a rival tribe when you go into a dance form, and you have some instruments, some backup instruments for your other guys, or if you have armor and stuff on that. So it looks cool, but it also does have some there's like it has some properties that will affect the game, the way that you're playing.
Is the entire game like a sandbox situation?
Not entirely. I mean, in fact, that's one of the cool things that I learned from that day that I thought was really neat, was that they've definitely planted some stuff out there in the galaxy. The galaxy's huge. There's just like, I don't even know how you would possibly visit it all, but they've definitely put stuff that's going to be in everybody's game that they're hoping people will find.
Are there achievements, Jeff?
I would be surprised if there aren't.
Yeah,
the game.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
But we don't know
because they're so determined to chase as wide of an audience as possible. The sandbox game it's rather not, is this just a sandbox game, but what do you need to do to make it the sandbox game that you want it to be? Because there's a very straightforward game there for just someone who heard from a friend on AIM that she should go to Walmart and pick this game up or something. And that will walk you through every step of the way. It's like, you need to go and collect, you need to go and eat 5 of these carnosaurs. You need to go and make this tribe happy, and then that's when it comes into play, where I said you can go over there and press the button to make your guys attack, or you can go over there and press the button to do a dance or something.
But in fact, they're going to have every stage of the game unlocked from the very beginning. Yeah. So you don't even you could just start in the space age if you want.
Yeah.
They're not making you play it linearly.
So does it just randomly seed an entire universe for you?
I guess
what it will do, yes, and it does that. I mean, it kind of does it intelligently, right? It's not gonna, in order to prevent these catastrophic game states, it's gonna know not to throw in something that's so hard that you can't deal with it. Likewise, when you're importing content from other people, it's not gonna take someone's insane monster. And I keep talking about dinosaurs because there is a feature in the game. It's called epic sizing, and you can actually take whatever creature you create and make just this grand version of it. So it knows it's not going to throw you up against those kind of odds. And it's actually like a really, I mean, they're very clearly concerned about the difficulty curve and keeping everyone playing and enjoying it. And then it does ratchet up to the point that there's like, another surprise about the game is it's got an end game. You can beat the game. And what happens is as you get to you get off your planet, you start exploring stars in your local solar system. I mean, planets in your solar system. Then you'll go to other stars in other solar systems, and ultimately you see your spiral galaxy. And you want to work your way across its arms toward the center, the nebula at the center of the galaxy, and around its perimeter is like a highly advanced species. It didn't say what exactly they do, but whether if you take a diplomatic course with them, they're going to be like very tough to bargain with. They're going to take a lot of work that way. And if you're going to fight them, they're going to take a lot of work that way. You get past them, and then there's some big surprise awaits. Will was very casually said, and I think it'll be surprising and you'll like it. And you could tell beneath the composure that he seemed pretty proud of it. I don't know. Did you? I took that from it.
Definitely, yeah.
So
they've worked up some kind of like epic boss end game thing.
That's what you took from it?
Well, I mean, at least not maybe the very last surprise, but definitely that race you're talking about that's at the center there.
But what about the very center?
Yeah, who knows what the hell that's going to be?
I mean, I figure they'll want to do something
Will Wright's
circular.
floating head.
Yeah, it's going to be Will's head, maybe with a lolcat.
Well, I figure knowing Will and his interests, and the reading he does in cosmology and stuff, my guess is like it's either going to be some play on a universe that contracts and expands and constantly recreates itself, right? So, the serial Big Bang sort of theory, or the parallel the multiverse type thing, where you find out that there's something else, that you can do.
So we get to a sixth stage, the multiverse.
Oh, God.
Superman
Can I make the Green Lantern? Oh, you probably can, dude. Oh, we know what Ryan's going to do. Fucking Green Lantern spaceship.
Can you create black holes and blot out the sun?
No.
Oh. What kind of god game is this?
But you can eradicate. You could nuke planets, though.
Cool.
Really?
Yes, you can.
Just erase a
You
planet.
could wipe out entire planets.
The Death Star type scenarios.
Nice.
Take a Death Star.
Yeah, and you'll be able to track things
you can
like,
make your planet look like a Death Star.
how well did your race do in other people's games too. So they'll have all sorts of tracking things. So, this whole the whole notion of, did you make a survivable race?
And
will not just be in your own game.
Did people want to kill it, or did they want to befriend it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing about the interaction, that like there are certain scenarios that that most people will probably encounter in one form or another that are cool, and that would be like where, say you're in your tribal state, there might be like a UFO or something that will visit, and at that point it's kind of foreshadowing what's to come. Maybe later on you might actually run into that same species or whatever it was that visited your planet. Or if it's in a friend's game, maybe the UFO was one of your friends or something. The really cool scenario where things like were interesting to me is when I asked if it's possible to have the kind of scenario where you're playing the game, you're at the creature phase, and you start sending out your creations to friends or whatever, anyone on the internet. They go out, and then you continue to play, and then as you're re-importing other people's stuff, you end up either inadvertently pulling back that very creature that you had in the creature stage, but maybe with some various modifications people might have made to it, and it ends up on some other planet. So then when you leave your planetary cradle and you're out exploring the universe, you kind of like find your own ancestors on another planet. So I mean, that's the kind of stuff I think that
and
fascinates me.
they said yes to that. They said that couldn't.
They said that it definitely can't happen.
Right. So So you're playing your own game, and you'll fly off to some distant star and see like your dude evolved in a completely different way. And that could happen even if you don't import from somebody else's game, right?
Yeah,
because you could get abducted by an NPC alien early on in the creature game, and then fly off many, many, many years later and find that creature had evolved.
Yeah,
or he's worshipped as a god somewhere else.
That sounds cool.
So all that has got me like really excited about it. I mean, it's taken some time, and to be fair, like Will Wright has made like Sim Life and stuff. They've made games that are essentially natural selection sims, and the problem there, like again, why they're not running with that here is because I mean, it takes so many generations, and it takes such enormous populations to approach anything like real natural selection, where you're going to have like 300 generations and a population that's at least like 20,000 or something. And then it becomes such an abstraction to the player that they don't feel that immediate like connection that they want. And this game is about connecting to these like cute critters.
Right.
But again, the reason why the other is interesting to me is because it's the possibility. You're basically talking about a game that would surprise you in ways that, like, instead of this cute stuff like, oh, what if I ran into myself? I mean, you could just do insane things, I mean, you could just have your own species divided into two tribes, set one of them across a river, and then basically trigger some sort of like an eruption or a continental activity. I mean, plate tectonic activity, bring up a mountain range and separate them, and then you'd have them speciate along different lines where you put in different plants and different other animals to like pressure them to do something else, and then you kind of just see what happens, how they diverge. It's basically like watching evolution, happen on the screen before you and see. Or instead of like, and then it makes you think, instead of like, hey, I know I got to get 15 evolution points to get to the next level, then you have to think, well, what are evolutionary dead ends? What are mutations that are like not going to work, and which ones are working? So obvious ones, you'd be like, hey, we know that like fingers and claws are going to work, but what if I tried something really odd? Would that work? And then if the game finds some way to, and it actually does work, that game will be around. Modders might be able to. Actually, they won't be able to do that.
It's really fascinating, and it just sort of boggles my mind that there's this kind of a little bit of naysaying going on. I mean, at this point, I feel like Will Wright's kind of earned a little bit of a benefit of the doubt after years of making like fucking amazing games.
Right. Oh, well, I think there's some element of it might be just the fact that no matter how rich the simulation in Sims was, or Sims 2, it kind of is known now as the dress-up doll game. Like, you look at the shelves and you see, like, the, H&M style packs and all these other...
kind of just throwing in the towel at that point and saying, well,
right.
Yeah, it's
well, that in particular is a case of the franchise is so far beyond what it originally was, and they're catering to a specific demographic with the stuff like the H&M
right, of course.
thing. I don't want to be an apologist for The Sims here, but, that started out as a pretty hardcore strategy game, actually, originally.
Right, there is a really detailed simulation going on under there, and I think part of maybe this backlash for the Spore might just be associating the other stuff. They dress up your space dolly.
Well, it's certainly there. They're definitely going for both. It's like they're going for both audiences.
They are.
It's like huge success in The Sims.
So what proportion is the question for me? As long as because it will be ideal if you hit them both up. You have a game where you have just all this creative freedom, but then you also have like this game and this like a sandbox that's complex enough and that's surprising enough in the outcomes, the situations that arise from it, that I'll be entertained on both levels. But yeah, I mean, it is a real thing. It's a real concern because they found out with a lot of their games. Maxis found out with, that people had more fun just dressing up the dolls, or even if it's like SimCity, just making buildings and stuff, not worrying about whether or not the buildings actually made sense in the city or anything, but if they just look cool, how tall they were, and things like that. And I don't want to knock that at all. That's totally fun stuff to do. But then the fear would be that they say, this is what people really want, so we need to make this our number one sort of priority in our design document, and then we'll worry about the other stuff later. And then you have a relatively rudimentary game that doesn't deliver on any of the promise. But I honestly, I'm pretty excited for it now. I don't. By the end of that visit, I was
cool.
Did they say when it's coming out?
I feel reassured now.
They were very far along. They didn't give us a date on when it's coming out, but it was far along.
Is it this year?
I don't even know.
Yeah, it was definitely
this year, but we have no idea when.
Have they talked about that card game or whatever again since that E3 a couple years ago? Did that even come up during this?
It hasn't come up, so I don't know if they've moved on from that. I don't know if the Spore-pedia, which is the name that they've given for this whole, the whole spore-casting mechanism. I don't know if that's replaced the card mechanism. The card idea was that basically it was like trading cards, right, for for everybody's creatures. Like your creature would have a card.
A Pokemon card, yeah.
Basically like a Pokemon card, where you could monitor its stats. I don't know if they've lost that metaphor.
Okay.
It didn't come up.
I think it's still there. They're just
It might still be
just
there.
virtual cards.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
It's their stat page. Two last things about it before we go on to something else is that the YouTube connection.
Right.
You can record videos in the game while you're playing of whatever you're doing, and then just click a button and it puts them on YouTube. So you don't have to go to an EA page or anything.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah, there's a button
basically
built in. They made a deal with YouTube, so there's a button right in the interface to go straight to YouTube.
That's
Well,
awesome.
that's pretty awesome, yeah.
It's just admitting, like, if they had the EA video page, people are just going to, like, take it out and put it on YouTube anyway, so people will see it. So it's like, why waste anyone's time?
Right.
Same thing with, like, the reasoning for letting you jump in, if you're inclined, jump into any phase of the game you want and play. It's like you're paying money for the game. You do what you want. And, hey, you can't shit on that. I mean, if you want to play the game the right way, which is the interesting way to me, because then you can look for continuity as you develop over the course of your species lifespan. Or if you want to do the other thing, it's like just because it shouldn't upset you if you're playing it the right way, to know that other people are just doing whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is that they have the 3D printer in their own office, and they've been making these really cool basically 3D painted models of the creatures that they've been making, but they're at least looking into a kind of service where you can order one of your own creature.
Like the World of Warcraft.
Like the World of Warcraft. And of course, we know that's like prohibitively expensive. They're like $100 for your World of Warcraft character. But hey, they're really cool. And if you like your Spore thing, and maybe you're proud you reach like the million download swap mark, you want to celebrate with a little trophy. You can buy it for $100.
So wait.
So that's that. Sorry, I almost belched to the mic there.
I was wondering what that face was. I'm like,
to end the Spore conversation.
Okay?
Yeah, no, I'm okay.
So we can go from serious to a quick sideline. And Anthony, you want to talk about our new series of names for our series of aliases for
what is this
games?
about?
Well, Anthony I play Company Heroes and pretty much every online PC game with Anthony, and you heard me talk about Rory and these other guys, Matt and James, and we'd like to come up with like names that say we're a group.
Not only do you come up with names that say you group, but when it comes to like naming a particular match of you guys have all these different strategies to get people to come in. The current favorite is 4v4 Ron Holocaust.
That's a good one.
That one tends to incite the people. Or there was,
or they come in and their name's like Ron Paul.
Exactly.
Ron Paul.
Exactly.
Oh wait,
they're like Ron Paul rules.
You mean you set up that name and that attracts people?
Yeah, because we're always trying to figure out what will get people to come in the fastest. Or either that, or it was for a while they figured out using like current movies. So like 4v4 Transformers would work, even though it's Company Heroes.
Or I
can play and we can chat about Transformers. It's pretty rad.
The worst though is when they let Shawn name the games on a regular basis, and Shawn starts making like horrible sleazy names for it, like
unspeakable.
like Chili Dog. Chili Dog was the worst
Oh
one.
shit! I didn't think you were gonna say that, dude. And I gotta explain it.
Yeah, you do. Or do I want you to?
Yeah, dude, a chili dog's not even fit for GFW Radio.
Oh my god, really? That must be bad.
I'm already getting a bad image.
I don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's probably not what you think. The chili's what you think. And the dog's what you think, but the bun's not what you think.
Okay. Well, the
I wasn't
chili
even
and
thinking about the bun.
the chili and the dog alone are enough.
Yeah.
All right.
To paint a bad visual.
But I got like... Well, I got to change it now because
Post pictures of this on our boards, why don't you?
my name I've been using is sensual sharding. But that was an offshoot because Rory found this picture of like a morbidly obese woman in lingerie from a website called Gorgeous and Gorging, and she's just like devouring donuts, and she's just covered in like jelly donuts and like cream puffs and stuff. So we had a good laugh over that and decided that was our new theme.
Gorgeously, what? Engorging?
Yeah,
Gorgeous and
gorging.
gorging.
That's Roy's current name, Gorgeous and Gorging.
No, he's feasting and fecund. so that's the thing. So like, what are some of our other ones? You're
Guapo y gordo, good looking and fat is mine in Spanish.
what other? We had like.
Did you guys
We just sat there like making like tons of them to give to everyone.
You're assigning team names. I don't know if I could play with you. That's just beneath me.
Well, that, and we always wonder if everyone can tell we're a team. We're like, we have to make it so we don't look like a team, but we look like a team when everyone's like,
well, yeah,
we're sharding, gorgeous and gorging.
That's my favorite one. You're taking it to the next step with the sharding one.
Yeah,
that's another website.
So that's that.
Or there was another name that drew a lot of people in was 4v4 Big Beautiful Women. Like,
oh yeah,
you
that
always
one
tell
works.
when we're women.
Yeah, you just like
because they think they're playing with hot chicks.
WOMYN, and then you ask, "Are you woman?" when they come in. And then, but then, or like when we have different names and people can't tell, one person will go on the other team, and then while you're chatting, because the thing is in RTS is it's a pain in the ass to get people to join your game to play. You sit there and wait for people to like come in, and you get enough people to fill the game, and then you start to. So as you're sitting there, anytime someone comes in, you don't want them to leave. So you want to talk to show them that you're there and you're ready to go when you fill up the game. So we'll say things like, "Hey, like ASL," and like, "Do you use Yahoo Personal?"
Yeah,
and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, except like you try and keep them from getting scared of our stats, so you start talking like the biggest retard, like sending stats like, "Hey, what name?" You just start leaving out vowels and
hi to all.
Hi to all.
Utterances.
Oh,
I haven't done that in a long time, and I don't miss it. Like random pickup strategy games. I just have so many bad memories of that.
Those suck.
It could be tough.
Mostly of people logging off when the going gets tough, you know. Like, you see you're losing, so you're out.
So you're pretty good at strategy games? You kick some ass?
I'm not saying that.
You kick ass so much that people have to log off to avoid being
No, I'm just saying... Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying at the soonest sign of even any challenge, some people will just bail. Or they'll just bail for no reason at all. Or you get the guy who just decides he's going to go get a sandwich in the middle of the game and not say anything. And you're just like going, hello, hi, your turn. I mean, it's a turn-based.
It's better that they do it when the game starts than like they wait in there for 30 minutes and then you finally get 4 people on the other team and then one of them just leaves.
Right.
It's like, why did you do that? What were you doing?
And it's preceded by gotta go. So, and then they're just out.
That's
like, that's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it used to always happen in Ticket to Ride, which is, I don't know if you guys know that, but it's an awesome board game that got translated into a PC version recently. Not recently, a year or so ago, and I used to play that all the time. And that was a game where there's like a lot of build-up to aggression. So you would like build up your railroad lines, and it was sort of like a common understood like gentleman's agreement that you wouldn't do something, you know. Basically, you're just trying to build your own lines. You have your own goals. Everybody has their own goals that they're working towards, and at the end, there's sort of like a reckoning, like who did this the best. And you can play it just sort of benignly, like I'm just going to build my railroad lines and make sure that I win and come up with the best way. Or you can like choose to fuck with the other guy, and it's kind of the gentleman's thing online that you're not really going to do that. It's a little bit of the asshole thing to do, like block somebody's line. Now, like you could see, okay, they're trying to build a railroad line from New York to Miami. I see that they're doing that, and if I put play this thing right here, it's going to fuck up their line. You could do it, but usually you just don't. Or maybe you would, like at home in the board game if you're playing with your own family. But no,
were these decided upon before you began the game?
But of course, what's going to happen? You're going to end up challenging someone to a duel,
right? But of course, you can do it. It's part of the game, right? I mean, if you want to win,
right,
you can do it. But what happens is if you choose to do it, and you might do it because you just feel like winning, or just because maybe you know that player's an ass or something, you'll start getting like yelled at, like in the chat, you know, like "fuck you," you know, what are you playing the game like this way for? Which, of course, then kind of makes you want to do it even more, you know.
Right.
But then
it's interesting that community evolved that way then.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just do not use the game rules to win.
Yeah, exactly. Which would always be people's argument back, which was mine when I felt like doing it, was like, Of course I can block. That's,
Right.
if I couldn't block, the game wouldn't let me block. Sorry.
Well, you get to a point where you just know where the people's routes are because you know what.
Right.
You know
can see what they're trying to. Well, that's part of the strategy of the game is to build your route in a way that they can't really tell.
Right.
You go at it from opposite ends or whatever. You try to bluff people.
Right.
Sounds ridiculous. That's like a gentleman's game. It is what you're saying. I'd be like, okay, there's a game. It's about competitive railroad tycoons, right?
Yep.
And then you're not supposed to do anything. That's not even cutthroat. You're not even supposed to do anything that's slightly aggressive.
And where's the line? Like, where do you draw the line? What aggressive?
Let's just all make trains and drive around the country. We'll make 5 transcontinental lines.
Well, it is.
May the best man win.
I mean, this is somewhere between like a casual game and a serious strategy game. So yeah, it depends on who you're playing with. Some people will all be into the competitiveness, and other people will get mad at you. Yeah, they'll do that. And even their text chat sounds like that voice. Why do you have to play that way?
Settlers of Catan kind of has a similar mechanic. I don't know if you played that, right?
I played that, sure.
You're building your roads out, and it's really easy to build your road and just fuck someone over so they can't go where they're obviously trying to go. And some people I play with that's how they want to play, and some people are just like, I can't believe you did that. I'm quitting. They have the gentleman's understanding, even though you don't. It is just weird.
Yeah,
I don't get it. It's like, no, this is part of the game.
It's like when I play a game, I'm playing the game that I bought. I'm not playing some imaginary version of that game.
The extreme.
It's like
end
Street
of that,
Fighter
though.
when like people tell
No
you
throws.
you can't throw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like no ring outs on Soul Calibur.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I agree. Those are dumb. The extreme end of things is
Well, if
when
you're
you
stupid
find
enough to be on the edge of the ring, then you deserve to get thrown out.
Well, it's kind of like people complaining and yelling about dying on a PvP server, and WoW.
I guess.
Like, you had to gank me? Yes, because we're on a PvP server. Therefore, I had to kill you. Sorry.
Dang.
I can push the limits of that, though. Like when, if you see other people, like they find an exploit where you can build a sentry gun under the map in Team Fortress 2, and then people are like, stop that. And they're like, dude, it's in the game. I wouldn't be able to do it if they didn't want me to do it.
Okay.
Exploit.
Well, I've done that before. But actually, on the same side, it's not just gentlemen's games like Ticket to Ride, like Team Fortress Classic. Anthony, did you play that much?
Nope.
There was sort of this like de facto rule that would be you had to have an offense team and you had to have a defense team for each side. And when you're crossing the bridge or the no man's land in the middle, you couldn't attack offensive teams. So if you're an offensive team going in and you're going to pass by their offensive team, you don't waste your time fighting each other. You just go and hit up each other's defense. And it seems so weird, right? There's snipers in the game to shoot you when you're crossing that bridge. And so some would say, well, snipers defensive, that's okay. Others would say, no, you can't have snipers in the game. We don't want them in here because it ruins it. But it'll be the same thing. You pop into a server and people start yelling at you because you go out into the middle of the map and you start shooting the enemy. Sure enough, it turns out that they got some reason for it.
In the old days of Battlefield 1942, I would often hightail it over to the enemy's base, and I wouldn't call it spawn camping.
Base camping is what it's called.
But basically base camping, but I felt the same way. Like if you don't like it, then find me and kill me. But in the meantime, I'm going to get these frags.
And that is definitely that was a decision on DICE's part to allow that, because all they have to do is they've already had the code for no entry zones, right? When you go outside the borders of the map, it gives you a warning. You have 5 seconds to get back or you die.
Exactly.
All they have to do is code that base.
Sure.
No entry.
Right. They could have absolutely done that.
Or and so it's like, hey, they didn't want to do it. So, and it's a fun way to get points, man. You take your helicopter over their spawn.
Uh-huh.
In the map Shark Eye, I got to say, because it was so fun, we get the helicopter, and we called it ant-eating because on the top of the building, there's like a stairwell, and it's a spawn right in front of it and inside of it, and we'd push that, I'd fly and hover the helicopter so close to the building that the Gatling gun would go into the doorway, and it would look like an anteater's tongue going into the ant hive, and then the ants would spawn in there, and we'd just blow them up the second they appeared. That was some fun stuff.
There's something about sniping in games where it feels so wrong and so cheating unless you're the sniper, and then it's like the most fun thing ever. I just remember so many death matches in the old days of CGW where some motherfucker, be Dave Salvatore, the old tech editor, or Joe Valina, the old managing editor. These guys were like expert snipers, and they would find some spot. It would just take you forever to figure out where the fuck they were, and they'd just be picking off one after another, just racking up the frag-hats, and you just want to kill them. But then if you would do it back, Dave in particular, he was tech editors 2 before Darren when he left. This guy would get so angry if you would snipe him. He would it was ironic because he was a tech editor. This dude broke more equipment in the office from getting mad from being sniped. And yet he was like the king of all douchebag snipers.
Sam and Max, dude.
Huh?
Sam and Max. Let's hear about Sam and Max.
Sam and Max, episode 3 of season 2.
You just reviewed it.
Night of the Raving Dead, which, if we're posting this on February 13th, you should be able to get it. I think it's on their website now, on Telltale's website. Mm-hmm. It's Sam and Max meet some zombies. It's pretty cool.
How would you rate it in terms of the series?
As far as, just season 2, the first episode, Ice Station Santa, was one of the best episodes in the whole series.
I agree.
And then the second episode, Moai Better Blues, is probably the worst episode.
That's the one that you just played.
The least funny.
But when you
I
say
like the puzzles in that one, but I thought it was had the most misses in the humor department.
Yeah, it was weird humor.
Yeah.
And then this one's sort of in the middle.
So it's funnier, but maybe the puzzles aren't as good.
I mean, the humor is a lot better. It's way funny, but the puzzles are just kind of annoying.
Really?
Can you do these standalone? Play the zombie one when it matters.
As of episode 2, there was very little common thread.
There's an arc that's coming together. I mean, there's a couple of threads that have been kind of in the background in the first couple episodes. It's like, okay, we're going somewhere with these now.
Okay.
But the puzzles in this, even with the built-in hint system, it's like, wait, what do they want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a couple of.
But those games have always kind of been that way.
Not to this degree. Like this in the last episode, to me, like you told me, Shawn, you liked the puzzles.
I thought the puzzles in that one were perfect.
Moai Better Blues, I thought they were kind of dumb.
Like everything clicked when it was supposed to. I'm like, you have those little revelations in your head. You're like, this plus this. Oh, I never got stumped and just did the random walking around clicking on everything, which most games like that I inevitably at one point have to do.
Yes, the original Sam and Max hits the road. I have memories of just taking every single thing in my inventory and just randomly clicking,
combining it.
That was
this
one of the hardest
this goes with this.
LucasArts games.
Yeah.
So does this have because the trailer had that 30 silent movie vibe to it? Is that actually part of the episode 2, or is that just a trailer gimmick?
I wouldn't say that this episode has that sort of vibe. Okay. It's like a goofy, these disco rave zombies and.
Oh, because it totally did a Nosferatu, complete with no sound. They would talk and then they put up a title card.
Yeah, there's none of that.
That's a shame. I thought they were going to do something clever with that.
I hope this isn't a very big spoiler, but there's zombie Sam and Max.
Oh, great, Ryan.
Jeez.
It's not a big spoiler.
Fuck.
It's cool though. I like it.
Yeah, I guess it would have been great if it hadn't been spoiled by you.
Dang. There's other stuff. It's not a big spoiler.
I'm done with you.
All right.
Is there anything else to say about Sam and Max? Episode 3, season 2.
When's your review going to be online?
By the time you listen to this.
It's going to get a letter grade, isn't it?
Yeah. It's going to get a letter grade.
That's revolutionary.
Holy crap.
So Sam and Max, it's 9 episodes in, and they're still doing good with them.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we take a break?
Let's take a break.
We'll take a break.
We didn't take a break.
We'll be back.
You are a member of a secondary fear team that is brought in to find more information regarding the secret project at Armacham. Expect the intensity of battle to continue in the second expansion pack to the critically acclaimed first-person shooter, Fear.
We're back. I hope you enjoyed that advertisement, and I recommend you buy 5 of whatever it was we just sold there.
You always
You made that
recommend
joke last time.
Did I?
Yeah, the exact one.
Fuck.
5 copies.
I did?
Fact. Yeah.
Shit.
You've been making
I
that
need
joke
some
for
new
like the
fucking
last
material.
5 months.
I know. I got like 5. This is what happens when you get old. You got like 5 jokes. You just put them in rotation till you die.
So you become Dane Cook.
Or my dad.
Okay.
My dad just sent me an email yesterday, Sunday, and the whole email said, "Dear Jeff, I haven't eaten in 2 weeks in case there was food in my mouth when you called me." Meaning, like, because I haven't talked to him in 2 weeks. I haven't eaten in 2 weeks in case there was food in my mouth when you called me. Basically saying, call me.
Call me.
It's like Jewish guilt. Yeah. Like, you could call
Starving
me.
myself until you call me is what
That's
he was
what he was
telling you.
saying. That was his point.
People have a strange way of relating.
Well, anyway. So, Anthony, you're our guest this week. So, as our guest, I'd like to know, what are you playing? So I didn't mean to treat you like you're a retard. Just,
You're talking about dads.
he works for my cheats.
Show us your crayon drawings before we put them on the fridge,
Must
Anthony.
be kind of a dumb guy over at the cheat side.
True. Actually, I've just been playing a lot of catch up ever since I built my new computer, because there's like a lot of games I'd never played. Like I had never played through Half-Life 2, which is.
You've now beat Ryan.
Are you serious, Ryan?
I don't play shooters.
See?
Doesn't play shooters.
Oh, it doesn't matter. But
We keep trying to tell him.
and then since I bought the orange box on Steam, I got Peggle with it, which I was like amazing.
Yeah.
I quickly played through like the 20 stage Half-Life one that it came with, and then immediately
it comes
bought
with Peggle Extreme.
Yeah, and then I bought Peggle Deluxe like immediately afterwards because I loved it so much.
That's actually a good order, because the Half-Life version is kind of like after you played the original. But it's actually, I think it would make a great demo for getting the original game.
It does.
I like that you bought like a brand new computer and then went straight to Peggle.
Yeah.
That's rad.
Oh, it's true. As soon as I built a new computer, like the first things I put on
Does it do well on quad core?
was like that, and I started playing WoW again, and
Yep. Like, which you can run on.
and Galciv 2, which again, like I
You
didn't
can
need
run
my
those
new
on a
computer
Tandy.
for. Yeah. And so besides that, then there's always the staple of Company Heroes with Shawn, which is like, I don't know, my roommate says I got a problem.
Really?
And then-
Company Heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's been a lot of there was Second Life, but I guess we've kind of moved on from that.
Oh, thank God.
And then
We'll go back. Once my
Spirit will
libido
move
comes
you
back
again.
to me, I'll go back.
yeah, when I need to revive the penis Cthulhu.
Yeah, I have a beef with you because there were a couple raids that were going to happen in our guild, and WoW that we talk about on Legendary Thread, where guys didn't show up because they were fucking around in Second Life.
Really?
Because of you.
Nice. Yeah, that's funny. I saw like tons of people posting pics, and like they took my word for it and went and had themselves some fun.
Yep.
It's like, hey man, I went to this place called Tijuana. You got to go, man. $5.99, you get free drinks all night.
In
Free
Second Life?
drinks.
Yeah. I think there's a whole district just for sensible sharding.
But then, as far as like games that I guess are new or about to come out, me and Shawn have now started playing Sins of the Solar Empire.
Aha.
Yes.
You have joined the cult.
It's very true.
Right on.
You're about to write a
Excellent.
strategy guide for that.
Are you?
How's that
Oh
feel,
my
dude?
God. Are you
What are you
really?
Yeah.
What did you sign yourself up for?
I didn't sign myself up. That was definitely an assignment.
This is life.
Learn this game.
Life isn't it turned.
Yeah,
Man,
exactly.
that thing, that would be a task.
Yeah.
Strategy guide for that game.
A lot of people are playing it, though, so I think you'll find plenty of sources of
I'm sorry I
inspiration.
called you stupid.
But that's the thing, you got to be careful, because it's like you don't want to just go to some like fact site, because then people will accuse you of plagiarizing.
Yeah,
No, I meant
their
in turn, like,
tactics,
and
and it's
people
like-
here,
Yeah.
friends you're playing with.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time it's just done like we play the crap out of it and then write up stuff we've
Eventually.
seen that works.
But the thing is, it takes so much time, because it would be like if someone asked me in the first week that we were playing Company Heroes when it came out to write the strat, I'd be like,
Oh, God, yeah.
If you ask me now, 2 years later, it'd
Well-
be like, oh shit, yeah.
Yeah,
I
you can
mean-
give, like, entry-level tips and stuff at this point.
Yeah, exactly. That's I guess it's
But strategies
kinda
develop
hard.
over
It has-
months.
Yeah, it has to.
Even with the
develop.
community, people won't figure things out for a long time.
Right. So just beginner, like some opening. You know, it might
There's some
be
good
useful.
stuff.
I think if you could do a good one, you'd be doing a great service to a lot of people.
Yes.
Because when you play that game, when you open it up, my first thing, you know, we got in there and I was like, I was telling Roy, I was like, all right, just walk me through the build order, like one build order, not the build order, but just one,
Yeah,
so
that's a
I at
good
least
thing.
have a foundation to like, you know, improvise from on subsequent games.
Yeah, even little stuff like
Absolutely.
knowing to build up your planet's infrastructure first, so it's not
Yes.
losing money and it's gaining money. Stuff about how the pirate raids
Yeah, that's
work.
totally a good call. That's what I would do. Some
Yeah,
kind
I
of
mean,
like newbie.
Because you can get wiped off the map if you don't know how to deal with the pirate thing.
I played it
Right.
for like 5 hours and then talked to Shawn today, and I still learned like 10 things I didn't know at all.
Right.
So, and I asked him how he knew it, and he said it was just from playing. Like there was never anything that
Yeah.
told him.
Yeah, the
Just learn.
tutorial in the game only gives you like the most rudimentary instructions, and it's kind of broken too. So.
Playing that tutorial, man, was scary. I was like, this is what I'm going to get into. And I opened up the tech tree.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Like
there's
one
like
of
a
six?
there's a logistics tech tree, a military
And there's
tech
another
tree,
one,
a
and each one has
civilian
3
tech
trees within the tree.
Yes, within
Yeah.
that. And the collector's edition, which I got, comes with the fucking pull-out folder.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
a wall
Map.
poster. That's
Yeah.
the tech tree.
Put it
Yeah.
on your wall.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
I think I
framed it.
said on last week's podcast that I walked it over to EGM to show Shane and Brian. And
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
You
they
did.
freaked out. This is why we hate PC games. They're
Yep.
scary.
There's
And
a poster.
all 3 races have their own unique subdivided tech trees. You have
Yes.
to learn each side. Yeah, it's daunting.
The fact that I want to meet whoever hung that poster up. It's in the garage next to Cindy Crawford from 1982.
Yeah.
Changing the oil. I'm going to learn how to play the Zarkon some.
Sarkon are good.
I should do that. I should, just to like particularly freak my wife out. Replace the Monet print.
Just start putting that shit up. See how she
with the
reacts.
Sins
I was
of a
gonna
Solar
say,
Empire.
You've never,
tech tree.
you've
taping
never
up
hung
some-
up
Come
any
on,
nerd
honey.
posters.
I haven't. I have to be honest. I've never put any of that kind of shit on my wall.
I guess
I always wondered why it comes in. EGM routinely would pack in posters and stuff, and I'd be like, why are they
I guess I'm
doing this?
I guess I'm one of those dork anomalies because living in like the clan houses. I used to live with like 7 people. When you'd enter, there was like a
Clan houses.
yeah. Well, I lived with 8 people during
The C.
college.
Huh?
And I'm just saying there was 8 of us.
Yeah.
So we were like
We had the same thing.
we
yeah.
had
I
a
just
lo-
reacted
The
to
clan
word
of the
clan.
Cave Bear, not the fucking Ku Klux.
yeah.
I hear the word
sorry.
clan. Maybe I'm
Sorry.
too. I don't know.
But yeah, as soon as you walk in, there's
And I
like
do mean the clan
a
of the
4 by
bears.
6 foot like poster of the whole map of Middle Earth, like in our.
I lived
our
in that
living
house
room.
too.
You go in the garage and it was like the woman, like the man-woman haters club or whatever. Like we were playing Warhammer, we're like, no girlfriends allowed. If someone had a girlfriend,
Dude, yeah, that's like assuming. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's your way of telling.
Well, that
you
was
don't
a-
have girlfriends because they would just interfere.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
we
did.
that
I had a
house.
Middle Earth poster up when I was a kid, but that was probably the last time I did that.
Hook it up. Let's do an experiment and see what your wife does. That would be
Should I
great.
do that?
Like do that. That would make a great show. Not a show, but a clip for game videos because the game's also got like posters of screenshots. And of course, the game is because it's meant to hold up when you're looking at things on like this galactic
Yes.
level. It's not going to be that detailed when you zoom into an actual ship. And then the poster's like a couple of the ships pretty close to each other fighting. So it looks all like ghetto Legos, all done up.
Hey, it
I wouldn't say
it
they're
looks
that. I would
better
not
than
say
it-
they're that bad. Yeah.
Right.
But it, I mean,
I've seen better spaceships.
even
but
if it
yeah,
was
there's
like-
so many of them.
even if it was a painting worthy of like a sci-fi paperback, which isn't saying much,
Right.
who would hang it up? But Jeff, you need to do it. I challenge you. I'm throwing the gauntlet
But then
down.
I need to take like candid video of my
Anthony is just
family's
like
reaction.
covering his eyes again.
Like I did that.
Do you want mine? They're still in my box if you want them, dude.
I have the box. I just haven't hung it up yet.
Okay.
Yet
now,
being the key word.
now that you know they're in
Yeah.
there, are you going to go and look at them tonight?
Probably.
Probably.
I wish it was a cloth map.
The cloth maps.
Yeah.
That's another video that I wanted to do. I actually proposed this to the game videos guys.
What
What?
did they say?
And Ryan knows.
A video of what?
Rolling your eyes, man.
I know what he's talking about.
So get your train. This is my last podcast. Get your train, and then there will be no more of these stories. So there's. I went over to him and we were going through all our old boxes from our library and looking at all the cloth maps in the collector's edition. And I just wanted to do like an absorbency test with them, like a diaper absorbency test.
Some of that blue liquid.
Yeah, you just do the blue liquid stuff on them. I had one hanging down like a loincloth today.
Yeah, that was really unpleasant. You had some map around your groin, some fantasy world map.
I assume he was fully clothed and just.
No, yes, he did have he had pants on, but still.
But that's
like,
the real
I never want to
mystery.
visit that continent again.
Because the cloth is at least like, it's around a little longer than the paper. So why? I mean, the paper is like, okay, that's for my recycling bin. But the cloth map, who uses those? Like, will you pull that out and lay it across your dashboard of your expedition? Your
I
driving one
had
day?
the EverQuest map on my wall.
So did I.
I needed it to get around.
Yeah, actually,
There's no
that's
in-game
true.
map in that game.
That's true. I did that too. That's true. Because it was
I played
for a
a lot of that
utilitarian
game.
reason. That's
Yes.
right.
And then you stick pins where you've been in
Because they did not have an in-game map. They were so stingy, they didn't want to have one. They only very reluctantly years later put out that
That
atlas.
was part of the vision.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know why they
The world
give you,
was being explored.
That was it. That was their reason. You had to explore it.
for some reason you wouldn't have access to this.
But it was crazy. You would actually go to websites and
People would map it.
Yeah, you would just download other people's maps just to have a visual reference. It was crazy.
I used to have a text file during the brief time I played EverQuest. I used to have a text file filled with coordinates.
Yeah,
Coordinates.
Because
are also
you
very
had
important.
to find it out yourself, like where this point of interest is at this coordinate.
yeah. I
We're
would put
spoiled these days.
Might and magic maps.
I
up
do
on my
like
wall. We are
that's a cool
spoiled.
idea
Yeah.
though. Just exploring in a game. There's not not even that, but just the actual contours of a continent. The landmass and looking for islands.
There was
and
really
stuff like
something
Well, there
to
was.
that.
Yeah, there was something
there
to
was.
that. Yeah.
I mean,
It-
I do miss that a bit in WoW. It's like there's no sense of wonder as you're coming over the horizon. Like you kind of know it's over there.
Yeah, well,
It would be frustrating in EverQuest for sure. It was a hardcore frustration, but there was also the sense of discovery too. There really is not there. Yeah, WoW. Every inch of WoW has been mapped out. I mean,
But you don't have to look at those, right?
You don't, but it's so frickin' tempting.
Yeah.
You can't help it. I mean, just last night I was playing WoW, and I was in Nagrand. I was in this area where I hadn't done any quests yet, even though I'm 70 now. And so I was faced with all these new quests, and I totally, as soon as I got the quest, I barely read the quest text, but I just looked at what I was going to get.
Quest text.
And then instead of looking at the description that said go to the northeast corner of this, I just went straight to Alakazam and found the exact numerical coordinates. Okay, quest, go to 4272. There he is. Boom, dead.
Dude,
Got
I'll
the
do you
quest done.
like
It's
four
so
better.
different from.
It's no fun, man.
I know.
Do you want to be
The love is. I took out the love.
do you want to
I've
be
got-
like Magellan, Captain Cook, or do you want to be fucking dude with the GPS and a
That's Ryan.
a mountain
I've got
climber who plays
like
an electric guitar?
I've got a coordinate mod that tells me what coordinates I'm at. I've got a quest helper thing that feeds Wowhead data into a pane next to my quest log and pinpoints.
Yeah,
you
don't
can
you-
click on a quest objective and it'll show the coordinates pinpoint on your map.
That's one.
And
you
I
gotta
have
just get the mod that plays the game for you.
And
then
I
you can
have-
just go to bed.
you talking about?
the quest helper mod that draws the most efficient line between your quests.
Right. See, you need the one
Oh
more
my
mod
God.
that just does the quest for you.
Yeah, Ryan has
Then you
his
can just
hand
go to
set up.
sleep. Oh, great! I've earned 200
I am the
more
guy
gold.
with the
You'll probably
GPS.
one
like
thing I-
Sins because you can automate so much of it.
Cool.
That's one thing that I don't understand about WoW is the reluctance to put in-game coordinates.
Yes, that's true.
You know what?
'Cause they give you everything else.
They're incorporating a bunch of commonly used add-on functionality
Are
in the
they?
next patch.
It
So I'm
sounds like they
hoping-
might just be
hoping
admitting
that's-
defeat in that case because they were kind of adamant about
I'm
not
hoping
doing
that's
that.
one
About the
of them.
coordinates. Yeah, the other thing that bothers me about the mapping, even though they do give you so much, is you'll discover a new area and then they don't put that on the map. I feel like, well, if you're putting a thing in the game that says you've now discovered whatever, Ares Landing, why is Ares Landing now not on the map? I don't know. Minor quibble.
Legendary thread, everyone.
Play this segment
sorry, we have another podcast
in
for
the
this.
background when you're in the room when your wife's discovering the tech tree poster on the wall.
I think I blame it on my mother. She enabled me too much. She still has Frodo's birthday on the calendar at our house. Back in
Wow.
Buffalo, because I put it on there one year, and she's like, "I'm gonna put Frodo's birthday on every year just for you." I'm like, "Thanks, Mom."
Wow.
So I went home for Christmas. And I'm like, "It's Frodo's birthday on here. I haven't lived here in 7 years. You're still putting Frodo's birthday in the calendar?" She's like, "Yep."
So when is
That's
Frodo's
touching.
birthday?
I don't even remember. It's September or something.
Wow.
That's very touching.
There's a certain similarity between the way that, like, you know, Ryan and Anthony and Shawn, the way that you're all talking about this with, you know, when you're with like Grease Monkeys or something and they're talking about the new camshaft they just threw in their 70 Camaro. But the difference is that you're always aware, unlike the guy talking about his new manifold who's like can't get it through his mind that the manifold's not going to be as exciting to every single person on the planet as it is to him. You're kind of like aware that, yeah, I did this, but I want to see you guys come through with the shit like the guy in his new manifold. Like, just like bring that shit next time. Like when you're talking about how you got World of Warcraft under control. Yeah, that's called bringing that ish.
Do we bring that ish in Legendary Thread, where we assume everyone does care about the manifold?
Yeah,
we do.
I listened to it, and that's what it sounds like to me.
Cool.
We got to get you on there one day.
Yeah, like straight up poster hanging right above my monitor. You show everyone when they come over. Give them a little tour.
Man, I ought to show you guys pictures of my old bedroom.
I would like to see that.
Oh boy.
I got a place for those called the internet.
Mine was too bad.
To give us a sample, like what kind of wonder would we see in that bedroom of yours?
Oh God, there were NES and Game Boy boxes all over the walls.
You'd hang them on the wall.
Yep.
Anthony, why are you pumping your fist? That's right.
Too.
That's the manifold.
Yeah.
So what did you got? Both of you guys.
My last bedroom had 3 Star Wars posters, and I had a tiny ass bedroom. 3 Star Wars posters, a Warhammer Online poster sitting right above me, so I could see it when I woke up.
That was a geek shrine.
That's how you wanted to.
You had a Warhammer poster on your ceiling.
I had
so you'd wake up and go.
I had Justice League posters. Yeah. I had.
Let's hear it. Keep them coming.
I can't. I'm sure I had many video game posters. I don't remember specifics, but there were some geeky ass posters hanging all over my room.
I had movie posters. There were lots of movie posters, but I worked at a theater and I got them for free. So I'd have like shit like Man's Best Friend up.
I had action figures.
Airbud too.
All over the wall.
We used it as wallpaper around the house. Yeah. We had Airbud.
Yeah, why not?
We'll get to that. I want to hear. Let these guys keep incriminating themselves. I'm the Grand Inquisitor of this shit. Ryan, what else did you have in that fucking bedroom?
There's action figures. There's all the like Final Fantasy VIII, the whole set.
The figures?
Action figures. Unopened.
Manga.
Unopened. Oh, that's the key.
Yeah.
Unopened?
That's an extra
For
step.
me, it wasn't.
Wait, did you have them on your wall? Because I saw a picture of that. You had a fucking unopened action figure.
Hanging on the wall, yes. I had a whole series
like mounted on the wall?
Yeah, like hung from like gun packs, you know? I wish we could take a picture of Shawn's face right now.
Anthony's cowering because he has something worse to admit.
That's like the random. You could. That in my head, that's like taking like a fucking soy sauce packet and some like blue tack, put it on the roof of your dorm.
How's this worse than having a Nintendo game box on the wall? Or, you know, like
this
40
goes along with it.
The sad thing is I don't understand why it is ridiculous to you. I'm just like, why is this ridiculous?
What's wrong with it?
This is cool.
Well, not to get too personal, but did either of you guys entertain the company of women in these rooms in this state?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, see, they must have been very cool women.
Oh, God. Well, dude, were they from Yahoo Personals?
Broken Shawn.
Were they from fucking...
You know what? I'll say, like, I'm very fortunate that my girlfriend is, like, as big a geek as I am.
That is very cool.
So her room is the same thing? There's, like, My Little Pony, like, taped by the hair hanging off the ceiling fan?
In our apartment's a little more normal than my old room was. But I mean, you know, like
You're lucky.
We got like an Iron Man movie poster from somewhere, and she's like, "Cool, let's hang this in the kitchen."
Wow.
Like, okay.
God, dude.
Wow, you're living the geek's dream there.
Cardboard City Times.
I think mine was probably
Ryan's our man on the street. What about you, Anthony? So what did the woman think about
I think mine was probably a more terrifying experience, because like when they'd meet me in college and stuff, they'd have no idea. Like I wouldn't talk about video games and stuff like that, and then they'd come over and it's like orcs.
Yeah, you look on the outside like
how are you gonna
cool.
Like how are you gonna kick it though when you got that
the Warhammer Online poster right over the bed?
Yeah, it's like mood kill. You're like trying to you got
candle. Barry White on the stereo.
She's like, let me light a candle. You're like, no, that'll blacken some of my Warhammer posters.
It's like a test. If she's not with it, then
exactly. I was unapologetic about it.
That's the way to be.
That's it, man.
Right on.
And you still kicked it. That's like the dude who's got all the Sports Illustrated and Maxim stuff like taped up in his garage, and he still kicks it in there.
That's how our house. That's
And
how our
he
whole
still
house
kicks
was.
it in that
Yeah.
garage.
Where do we
None
go
of this sounds
from
foreign to
here?
me.
I don't
either,
know
so.
where we go from here.
Excavations, man.
Only up or down.
I'll be an
I'm not
archaeologist,
sure.
a nerd room archaeologist,
Yeah, I don't even remember. I've been domesticated for so long.
rummaging around through that stuff.
And I have a daughter, too, so I don't have, a dorky son who would have further enabled that back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you're like kind of like looking at him, you're like, oh man.
No, I would support it.
Support it.
I would-
Didn't
I
write
would-
Frodo on the calendar.
Right, I would have been living vicariously through him if he had.
Well, there's
Iron
the
Man
age
poster.
thing too, and then it is like you're talking about college years. At least that. Well, Ryan, I don't know. You've got an Iron Man poster. I'm gonna leave you with that fucking image in your head. But you were in your college years, and that's like when in college did you ever go to like a peer's place, and it wasn't actually like a cesspit of some, like a
Very rarely.
aquarium full of like
my
fish
my
shit
dorm
and-
room in I lived in a dorm at UC Berkeley my freshman year, and it was 8 stories, I think. And our room, my and my roommate's room, we won messiest room of the whole building, and it was a fucking pit. It was. There was no room. There was no floor. We had no floor at all. It was grotesque.
Yeah.
My roommate Derek Evans had the Beauty of the Week from like some kind of like Ebony magazine or something, and he put them all on this wall. But they're fully nude, though, was the thing. So it wasn't Ebony, but it was they were fully nude Beauties of the Week, and he would just line them up each time he would get them, and he would tell me like, I just like looking at these, and I wake up in the morning, it makes me feel good looking at this. And he's like, you could put some stuff up too if you want. I was like, I can. Like, that's cool. I don't really want to. And then
This is
I was like, and I was bringing my girlfriend Lindsay over to the dorm that's all the time, which was heinous in and of itself because I'm sure it's a single tiny ass room, and we had this system where we'd put like a fucking rubber band on the handle.
Yeah.
Like, don't fucking come in this door, dude. And he would always be so drunk he would never notice the fucking rubber band. I'm like, one time I'm like, Derek, there's fucking Beauty of the Week on the wall. I'm in here. I got the rubber band on the door. What's it gonna take? And then the same guy, he also would have these like porno viewing sessions and have all his friends over. But I picked up a few good lines from that. I just want to say this because there's a rhyme to remember. One of them was Satisfaction Jackson. I haven't told you this story before.
I don't
have
think so.
Satisfaction Jackson, and the plot of this movie.
That's the name of the movie.
Yeah, Satisfaction was basically like a surrogate that you provide when you can't pleasure your wife properly. You bring her into Satisfaction Jackson, and he got you covered. No doubt.
Okay, that's one
So
way to make a
I'm
living.
with you.
This was one of these rad like cross-cultural experiences at the time because I was like, I was meeting different people, and so we're watching this with a group of his friends, and the first thing is there's this like really scrawny guy, and that was the husband, and he comes in and he's with his wife, and she's of course a porno star. It doesn't make any sense, and then she's like, my husband brings home plenty of bacon, but not enough pork. And then he's like, get back, woman! You know damn well my expertise is designing computers, not fucking pussy! And then like that, I mean, this is an exploitation movie. So the dialogue is that bad. And then like it was all quiet, like because I wanted to laugh at that because it was pretty funny. But I was like, I don't want anyone to think the wrong thing. Like I don't want them to think like, dude, that guy doesn't design computers. It's like, and then someone else, Derek's friend's like, fucking don't design computers. And then everyone started cracking up. But then the good line from that movie was after Satisfaction would sort of present his course on the art of satisfaction, he broke it. The husband broke it down as such, observing. He said, "Actually, I can't say this."
You tell this whole story.
I was all building up for this, and I was like about to say it. I'm like, actually, I can't say this.
How can you
What
draw a
can't you
line
say?
now?
Yeah. I want to hear this. Maybe I'll edit it out.
Is this bad? And now, like, okay.
I'll mark the time. Maybe I'll put a beep
Mark
here.
the time and put a warning.
Okay.
If you are under 18 or if you have any taste whatsoever,
You should have stopped this thing long ago.
Long time ago.
So the guy was watching, and like as he's supposedly watching his wife being pleasured, he's like, pulls out his hand in front of him and he starts counting it off. He's like, lick, stroke, kiss, suck. Only then do you give your fuck. Make them happy. It's the main attraction. Bitches call it satisfaction. So that went with us through the rest of my education.
So that's a rhyme you continue to tell yourself years
That
later.
was my
It's like you're
inspiration. That's
guiding
when I got
words
the
to
live
at that
by,
moment
yeah.
right there.
That was it.
That was
the switch.
Hip hop.
Wow.
All right, on that note,
Okay.
I got to get out of here.
You got to get Ryan's being chased out of the room.
The Iron Man's secret research
hell?
center awaits.
God.
What's bad though is when you don't get to the point where you make so much money that the poster's no longer satisfactory, and you start buying like the replica Iron Man armor
Okay,
bust.
no,
and
that's
putting it in like a glass case.
that's okay.
Never say never, Ryan.
I'm gonna say never to
Okay.
that one. All right,
Right.
I have
Okay.
I have a train to catch.
All right,
so
Mr. Scott.
Goodbye.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, Ryan.
Sorry
now
for
that
telling
he's
that
gone.
Story. Okay,
No,
now
don't
we can talk
apologize.
about
That
the
was-
real line from that movie, because that one was that
Now
was
that Ryan's
the
gone.
vulgarized one. No, oh God! So we
I don't
had
know
all
if we're
this other-
editing that out. Yeah, we actually had actual news items that got, and we replaced it with porn talk.
Well, we can hit them up.
That's par for the course for the show.
I don't know if it's all anti. No, I'm not going to say that word.
Why don't
Never
you?
mind. Huh?
Why don't
What
you,
should I do?
Why don't you hit us up with some news?
Okay. Here's the news segment of our podcast. Usually
Good
follows
intro.
the porn talk.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I'm like actually ashamed of myself.
Hey,
It's like your
I
mom
won't be in
listens
like
to this.
5 more minutes.
Okay. Well, there were two related MMO news things, or semi-related things that came up. One was over at Gamasutra, gamasutra.com. They made the announcement that the NPD group, the group that is notorious for reporting sales of software, video game software, and computer game software. I shouldn't say notorious. I'm only using that word because of late there's been a lot of controversy about how they report on sales of PC games. And there's been a lot of complaints about them not covering subscription games like MMO. And so they announced today, as reported by Gamasutra, a new initiative to track the online market for software. NPD says the reports will chart, quote, chart market size and title shares for MMO, PC games, gaming websites, and game console services like Xbox Live. Any service that gets revenue from paid online subscriptions. Said NPD Vice President Martin Zagorsek, quote, these products are an important step towards NPD's ultimate goal of providing a truly complete view of the North American PC game and video game markets, including all the different ways consumers pay for and play video games, PC games, and related products. So that's good news, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't we think?
It's a good step.
On that note, the last NPD also, I was surprised that it had Pirates of the Burning Sea on there.
Yeah, I noticed that.
cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
On
It's
the
not as
to
cool.
overall top 10? Or was
Yeah,
it?
in the
Oh,
top
wow.
10.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys were all excited about it. Ryan especially.
I've been playing it a little bit.
What about you, Jeff? And I know Ryan hasn't.
Well, I mentioned that I created my character Pepe Le Pew, and I was having trouble in the early going in the French town. And after that, I lost a little bit of interest, but I'll try to get back to it. I was enjoying the ship combat, the little I did.
What about you, Anthony? You like?
Yeah, I'm a level 4 Spanish wayfarer, I think is what I'm called.
Is this a good
Is
game?
that pirate?
No, I figured everyone was going to go
I think
pirate.
that's what I am,
tried,
too.
So I tried to go something that wasn't pirate.
Is that
you-
kind of like
you
the
find yourself
merchants
being
did,
alone?
or-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I am. I'm a French wayfarer.
Yeah. I don't know. Antonio Gallegos. That's my. I got
Does
to
it
use my
seem-
real name.
Oh, wow.
seem
That's
cool?
awesome.
Oh, nice.
So he doesn't look anything like
What
me.
do you do? Is it just like some version of grinding so far?
A little bit. I was actually surprised how instanced it is. Like every time you
Yeah.
take on a quest, it'll be like the city's under attack, and you'll exit the door of the room you're in, and you'll be in like a fake version of the city that's on fire and stuff like that.
With people that are in your party? if you want.
If you're partied.
Yeah, or just by yourself. So like all the other players that were running around the town are now no longer there. But it's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like it all right.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Seems
And,
like Age of Conan does that. Like at the event I went to a couple of weeks ago, they instance the town by making you go to sleep. So if you click on a bed, you get the nighttime version and there's no one around, which actually was kind of an interesting way to make it not so obvious you're in an instance.
Mm-hmm.
But that just seems too many instances is just counterintuitive to the whole point of MMOs.
Yeah.
Well, then you're kind of more like in a Guild Wars scenario or something where I don't know.
I guess maybe they were just afraid of people messing with you or something. I don't know.
Well, sometimes it's the only way to do something like you described. Like if you want to
make
the town explode, if someone else is sailing around the town and just spontaneously combusts, it's going to be like, what the hell? What was that all about?
What date is the game set in? Since all three of you have been playing it.
Pirates?
Yeah.
I haven't touched it.
No. I'm talking about Sins of the Solar Empire. Yes.
Yeah, I like
Pirates
that
of
was funny.
It's like a Cheech and
Pirates?
Chong
The game we're
episode
talking
all
The
the
one
time.
we were talking about 2 seconds ago? Yeah. Or the one 2 hours ago?
Like what what century?
I want to say it's the 16th, but I'm not sure.
Okay, and so is
Possibly 17th.
Is-
Yeah, possibly 17th.
going back to our talk about maps and stuff. Well, if it's 16th, I mean, like, is the entire world charted at that point?
No, just the Caribbean. You only sail in the
Yeah, you're only in the
that's
Caribbean.
okay, duh.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily, duh. The Burning Sea.
Burning Sea
Any
could
sea
be
can
anyone.
Mhm.
It's true.
Okay, because I was thinking that would be a fun sort of a game to have that element of exploration and discovery, especially if you can go around the world. Go to Polynesia and stuff like that.
Maybe in an expansion.
That's expansion, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So another thing on the sales note is that Amazon's list had Sins of the Solar Empire, I think it was number 2 last week, and it was
Very
above
nice.
World of Warcraft.
Excellent.
It's really cool to see the kind of buzz that this game has. It seems unexpected to me, but it's so good. I think it's just kind of transcending.
It'll play on. Yeah, it does surprise me. When I looked at this is my first 4X game, even though it's kind of like 4X RTS hybrid. And I'm like, and then you guys explain that Gal Civ is basically this, but with even more rudimentary combat, if any.
Yeah.
It's just as complicated. I was like, God, and these games sell so well. Same thing with Civ, It's it's surprising, but that's reassuring though, because it's they take a lot of investment, but you don't associate it with when a lot of times when you think games that sell well, just at any place, you're like, oh, it's got to be the guy that goes into Walmart and gets Redneck Rampage and Cabela's Big Game Hunter Part 16, but it's clearly, there's a
the
big,
combat in these
thriving group of
the
people.
combat in these you mentioned that you were talking about this earlier. It's nothing. They say RTS in the acronym they make up, but it's nothing on the level of a StarCraft or a company of
No
heroes.
one's going to be screaming
Right.
while battling it out.
But again, it's way more complicated than a Gal Civ 2 situation where you're literally your stack of ships has a certain numerical value, and you compare it to the other stack of ships' numerical value, and then you put one on top of the other, and then math resolves it all. And Gal Civ 2, you have the option to watch this ship, which I've done once. It's the most boring thing in the world to watch a simulation play out based on the numbers in your stack. But that is what the combat is. I mean, it's literally you move one on top of the other, and then one disappears.
It's it works though because it's not just military combat. All the
Right.
rest
That's such a
economic and
it's the whole
diplomatic.
big picture, which Gal Civ has that too, and Sins of the Solar Empire has that too, and more complicated tactical battles once you zoom in. I like it a lot. I'm still addicted.
Great game.
It's gonna take me some time because I'm supposed to play.
Yeah, if you've never
games,
played
but
Civilization or anything like that, it'll be interesting to see how you feel
I
about
wasn't
it.
sure that you would like it at all.
I'm not sure if I do yet. I'm really interested in the notion of. I mean, I see the potential in the same way I like DEF CON, but which is a super simplistic form of it. When you get 4 more people in the game, the more people, the better.
Yeah.
So that way you can have these really shaky alliances and backstabbing and duplicity and all sorts of cool things like that, helping each other out, because the combat itself, since that doesn't seem like that's ever going to be satisfying to me.
Did you ever play
No,
Diplomacy
a lot of
back in the day?
times.
But no, I didn't.
No.
I probably didn't even have a computer then.
No.
I mean, more often
it was
than not,
board.
in Sins of the Solar Empire, I'm not really micromanaging the combat that much because you kind of you don't necessarily lasso a fleet, but there's a little bit of making sure the long range guys are hitting who they're supposed to be, and the cap ships are using the powers that they're supposed to. But other than that,
Yes.
I don't necessarily get too into it.
But the big
Right.
moves on the risks board, so to speak, are the fun ones. When you're
That's
say
what
if you
I'm
have a
really into.
coalition
Yeah.
and you're maneuvering to come through to guard certain wormholes where you're going to converge on an enemy at the same time, or you're going to actually block his retreat, you're waiting at a wormhole where you know he's going to come out of.
Yeah, it's that stuff.
I mean,
is the compelling stuff.
all the tech stuff, the fact that it's it's got a rudimentary version of a black market in it, and that the prices actually go up, that you have inflation based on how
Who's
how many
buying
people
crystal
are buying
and-
what.
yeah.
I mean, all those things are super interesting to me. So
yeah,
it's like,
that's all the civilization stuff, that aspect. So yeah, most of the time you start a battle and then you spend 75% of your time not even looking at that battle while it's going on because
I
you're
just go
worried
back
about
and
other
check on
things.
it and see how it's doing. Yeah,
that
Sometimes
was the
you know.
weird thing is like constantly just clicking like, okay, so what do I do now? Just tech up some more. Or I just teched up. What do? You go tech up some more. Tech up another planet.
right.
And you're like waiting. So I was waiting and I was looking at it with an RTS mindset. I'm like, okay, we just teched up for an hour. Like, where's our payoff? Where's the money shot? And then we had a big battle with our capital ships and our entire fleets. I was like, that's it. Press a button.
But everyone was being nice in that game too. Like,
oh
and
yeah,
not fighting
I
for-
understood.
Gentlemen's
that, like,
agreement.
I'm like, this is not how you play it, and you don't play 1v1 either. I mean, it very clearly seems any more than like DEF CON, it's like you want to, constantly having these options, the diplomacy menu and saying like, let's negotiate a ceasefire. You could pay someone to quit attacking you. Like, come on, dude, I'll give you some money to stop, which is rad. You can give them like whatever type of resources you want. All those are like where it's going to be fun, and you're just not going to get that with two players. And thank God that you could save. You probably went over this all last week, so I won't go over. But thank God you can save
multiplayer
a game.
games.
Yeah.
Yes, that is wonderful. Because if
would
you
be
are going to
awesome.
play a game at the scale that you just described
Yes, we're talking
with actual human beings,
a week.
if this didn't have a good save feature, you'd just be screwed.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to get 10 people or whatever to commit to like a 48-hour block of time?
It's really a nice thing in the evolution of multiplayer games that you could do that now.
I feel it
It
needs
used
a
to not be the case at all.
speed slider, but I guess more in single
Speed slider.
player. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even in multiplayer games, there are times where like some people are just like, I'm not doing anything. I wish there was a speed slider right
It
now.
would,
Or a
yeah, it's like
variable
DEF CON
speed
had the
slider,
speed
maybe.
slider.
Yeah, variables. Because you can
Variable.
right at the beginning of the game, you can pick slow, normal, or fast.
Right.
But you're locked into that the whole time. Even if you
But one where
save
you
a
could just
game,
say, okay, this part of the game
And
is...
people could vote, like at DEF CON. That's just exactly how it works.
yeah.
It's
It
variable
needs
WAD
that.
you play, and people can vote on.
because there are slow periods where you are watching TV because you're not really doing anything. You're just waiting
Yeah.
for something to kick in.
Yeah, there's times when I wanted to play it in a window.
Well, you can.
You can.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah,
There's
you
a
can.
Oh, yeah,
windowed
your-
option.
Your computer would
You
handle
could-
it.
you want
Yeah, it
to
too. No
want
problem.
to read the one up words while you're playing? Go for it.
Yeah, I definitely can't play this game after
Look
a
at
certain
gorgeous
point
and gorgeous.
at night, though, because those parts where like nothing's happening, my head starts nodding. I'm like, oh,
like, like you're agreeing with the computer.
yeah.
Yep.
No, I mean, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, in those lulls, I tend to
You
just
know
like routinely go through everything. Is everything okay still? Everything okay still? Everything okay
Right,
still?
right.
Everything okay still? And it's in a circle.
yeah.
That's just how I play.
This
It's
planet
compulsive
needs
that
an
way.
emergency facility.
Oh yeah.
I'm surprised I overlooked that.
And did you realize, Shawn, that you can rename everything in that game?
Oh fuck!
Oh, I
That's the
do
first
that,
thing
yeah.
I did. All my
Rename my
planets.
cap ships.
Rory didn't comment. You were in Ventrilo with us while we were playing that 1v1, and I was waiting for him. When I knew he was coming, I went and did a failed attack on his system, and I retreated to mine. And I was like, well, if he's coming in here, he's at least gonna like have to stare at some fucked up names when he shoots my planet. So I changed them all. Oh yeah, they were like,
Yeah.
they were all wretched names.
I just went with lame things.
My whole system was just disgusting.
What a surprise. Okay, should we get to the other news item?
Jeez.
Also, in MMO news, we had the announcement. No, it was not an announcement. It was merely a confirmation. Oh my gosh, did I not get the website? Do you have it? Over there,
What are you
Mr.
looking for?
Malloy? Where I stole this news item from.
Oh, wasn't
online.
that the MTV multiplayer?
It was
blog?
MTV.
It was MTV multiplayer. Reported they had an interview with Shane Kim, the head of Microsoft Game Studios, and he confirmed what we mostly knew already, which is that the Marvel MMO is now dead and gone. This is where we should have done this one.
Yeah,
Ryan's
Ryan's
still
gone.
in the room, so he
I have
can
nothing.
cry.
I'd be like, okay, bye.
Yeah,
Yeah, we wanted to talk comics with him too. At least.
that's true.
Oh man.
Yeah, we have to splice in a what the hell from Ryan.
Well, actually, Ryan doesn't like Marvel so much as DC, so he probably doesn't care.
Yeah. So just a
that true?
quote from
Is it
him.
reversed?
Shane Kim told MTV, Marvel and we have agreed to end development on the MMO. It was an amicable decision. It's just something that we felt that for us and for them, it would be better if we ended development. And then when they asked what went wrong, Mr. Kim said, quote, I don't think it's necessarily a case of what went wrong. I don't think that's the right way to put it. For us, we look at our priorities and all the things we have to do. It's a tough space. It's a very competitive space, and it's a space that's changing quite a bit. When we first entered development and agreement of the development of Marvel Universe Online, we thought we would create another subscription-based MMO. And if you really look at the data, there's basically one that's successful, and everything else wouldn't meet our level or definition of commercial success. And then you have to look and say, can we change the development model for that? Is that really viable given how far we're in development and so forth? Does Marvel want to do that? There's a whole bunch of factors.
That's an interesting lesson to learn, considering they at least theoretically learned it with True Fantasy Live, with True Fantasy Online, with Mythica. With what other? How many other?
Well, Vanguard.
More
ended up at Sony.
Microsoft's got more aborted MMOs too, don't they?
There's probably
There probably are more, but those are.
We had some of them in that delay a game feature.
Yeah.
Imperator, one of those? I don't even remember anymore. I mean, yeah, it sounds basically like Marvel said, make us a WoW, and then Microsoft was like, we can't, which is smart.
Right.
So
probably a good call.
End of agreement.
Part of the subtext might be, I mean, hopefully I'm not reading too far into it, is that maybe Microsoft was willing to say, let's look at some alternative business model and we can go from there.
Right.
And
Marvel didn't want to.
Wasn't happy with that.
Well, I think, his quote there about that there's one successful one and, all the rest don't meet their standard of success, It's pretty right on. Yeah.
Far into it.
Do you want to be the next fourth string MMO to WoW? I mean, the Marvel license you would think would be strong enough to get over, but I have to say personally that I've been skeptical all along of both comic MMO licenses. I don't really get it. Even when they've tried talking to us about it, I still don't get it. Like, if I can't be Spider-Man or Batman, then who the fuck am I?
It's the same problem they ran into with Star Wars Galaxies. Just like, oh yeah, you're a chair maker.
Right. So then are we all just like minions of Spider-Man? And, am I just douchebag man?
No, he'll give you quests. You'll meet him. He'll give you some quests to go find him 5
at that point,
radioactive
just play
spiders.
City of Heroes, which has been out longer.
I'm just Spider.
Yeah.
Imagine you're Rob Liefeld, make some new characters. Just put some sticks on their backs and
right. Well, then I might as well play City of Heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. Right, and it was cryptic, so like it would have been City of Heroes 2 basically, but licensed.
Yeah.
More or less, I would imagine.
So no one's shedding any tears? Anthony, you're not?
No. I don't
At
give
this
a crap.
point,
I wouldn't have played
it's like
that.
a rare MMO that you look at and say, you know what, that's probably going to flourish.
A loss.
I mean, we go over it over and over again, but I mean, aside from Guild Wars.
Who has time to play multiple MMOs? I mean...
Yeah, well, you found time to play some Pirates of the Burning Sea?
Barely, but in the end, I'm still not level 70.
You dabble.
So that takes precedence.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing, too, because getting into a new MMO takes getting other people into the new MMO.
Exactly.
So if you have reluctance with your friend group that you normally play with, then you're just not going to do it.
It's just
everyone I want to try.
Yeah, it's so... I was thinking like Tabula Rasa came out, and I was like, that was fun. I had fun playing it when we did, but then when we got the box copy that came out, we played it for one evening, and then we were just like, yeah, let's go play Team Fortress 2 and Company Heroes and stuff,
But why is that, do you think? Why?
And it's weird. Like, it couldn't entertain me for more than a week. Why do they make these games that are supposed to entertain you for like a lifetime? And I say a lifetime because like with Lord of the Rings, they sold a lifetime subscription.
Right.
Yep.
If you think you're going to be playing that shit 5 years from now, let alone.
Yeah, there's still people
playing WoW. It's going to be 4 years in, this fall. So
I'd like to think all of the personality types who are into this already have their game of choice. So it's going to be even harder.
Right. But they've said that before, right? They said that before with EverQuest. When that came out and that had a couple 100,000 subscribers, the common wisdom was like, well, okay, we've now nabbed any loser who would spend this much time playing one game. Mm-hmm. And then WoW came around and got that many more people into it.
So maybe there's another step.
Maybe there's another level beyond WoW's 10 million.
That's true.
That will get 100 million people playing.
Everyone always promises to do something different with it, too. But when I look back on it and of all the MMOs I've dabbled in, they're really all the same.
And I'm looking at like...
The differences are really like negligible. And part of it's
Superficial.
just the nature of that kind of game. And it's like, it's just how do you make a game that has something for people to do indefinitely and that's not going to take us an indefinite amount of time to create content for.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to the fucking grind. And it's like...
Yeah.
That's
right. And I look out at
Yep.
the upcoming ones, the Ages of Conan's and all those other ones on the future, and I don't see anything that's new or different about any of them yet.
Yeah,
like some of these are like years in development still, and you're like, oh, well, how's this different? That's not really.
But that's what there are different ones. It's like EVE Online and stuff. That's why that is like kind of more I like hearing about that more than when I look at other
I wouldn't
stuff.
play that though.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to
Right, but for the people who are into that, right, that's a whole different model than WoW.
Yeah, that seems like entirely different for me than the experience of you go in and we're just gonna beat up on some shit until we can get something to beat up on.
That's why I had to laugh when I like Lotro a lot. I still like it, but when I first went in there and there were lots of players in there who were like, well, I never would play WoW. That's kind of a baby game. The Lotro here, this is serious. And I was like, sorry, this is WoW with a Lotro skin.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? But you get people thinking like, well, I'm playing a different mechanic here.
I tried to find it before. It's been a while. I kind of retired Heroes of the Web for a little bit. But I had something I wanted to bring in and read. And I don't have it, but I can tell the story. Anthony's heard it. No. The guys that we play, there's no like feces or anything or dicks, so don't worry if you're out there listening.
They're all turning.
We've had that covered already today.
Tourette's medication.
We've covered those territories.
Yeah. But they're playing Lord of the Rings online, and they basically go around looking for GMs to grief, and they find the GMs and they figure out that this is probably someone in India, and they don't play this game or really know the game. They got the manual, and they look at my questions, or they look in their database, and someone types this, and they're able to pull up a page and just read it.
Right, it's like singular cell phone tech support or something.
So they just live to like drive those guys crazy, and they find them, and then they start asking them all these questions, and they know to like sprinkle in a few words now and then that will pull up something to make them think they found it, but really they're talking about Star Trek. So like some of the shit they're saying,
I don't know, eventually it got so elaborate here, he was like, I'm telling Jordy to engage the warp, but he won't engage the warp. and they're like, I understand that your warp is broken. I'm sorry that this is a disservice to you.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah, because like warp would come in or something, and they just kept going and going, and so I'll have to get the screen. They have them saved, and they're like, it's just all text based. You see it in the window down at the bottom. It's over and over talking about dilithium crystals and all this shit.
That's a great idea.
It's good, when you're bored. It's better than grinding.
That's emergent gameplay.
It is.
So
real life interaction that these MMOs promote.
Anything else on our agenda there, or shall we call it a night?
We
call it a podcast.
Let's do something quick. We're going to put this off, but we had like this big topic.
Oh, yeah, we didn't get to the big topic.
That we wanted to go to, but we won't do that. But at least like I wanted to talk about, let's talk about some off-topic shit real quick. Chris Ware.
Yes.
Lost episode 2, and
we got to wait for
Ryan.
Ryan.
He's our resident
Okay,
Lost
but let me
expert.
say this then.
Okay.
The fucking Egon with the Dust Devil Ecto-Pack or whatever it was.
The Ghostbuster?
Yeah, that shit was stupid.
I didn't like that guy.
That shit was dumb.
It was kind of dumb. The dumbest thing was...
it didn't even strike me as dumb. It just struck me as like a, like that flat, like, you're trying to be weird and I don't care. That's how I reacted to it.
Also, that was a pretty low-rent Ghostbuster
I know.
device he had.
It was like a fucking
from
Black
Sears
and Decker.
Roebuck.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was like
Very
a
much
Black
what it
and
was.
Decker thing with like a spinning contraption on the bottom.
Yeah, I wondered if like they ran out of a budget for that.
Well, at first I thought it was like,
really? That's what you came up with?
I thought at first it was just, that's his huckster equipment.
Right, he was another con, just like...
right, like
and-
Sawyer.
But then they're like,
instead-
oh no, he's really doing this? And this is really helping him?
He's dead people. Like, I could deal with it on the island with all the shenanigans in the fucking cabin with Vincent in the rocking chair.
That's okay.
Vincent's the
Vincent's
dog,
the
by
dog.
the way. But for some reason, I was even able to smile at little things where, like, you see that same guy, Miles, and he's faking that he was, unconscious or something after he, jumped from the helicopter. And then Jack, a back doctor, runs up, and the first thing he does is yanks the helmet off. It's like, I could deal with that. That's dumb. Or the fact that they're parachuting from a helicopter. Most helicopter crews don't have parachutes. And then at low altitude like that, which is all ridiculous. I'm like, that's fine. But it was the Black and Decker that did it for me. I don't even care if that guy saw dead people. The fact that he had to fucking have the... like they
didn't really even need the machine. He could have just come in and sat down on the bed and...
Maybe it was just there to like drown out the noise he was making.
A white noise thing.
Yeah. So she wouldn't hear him talk.
metronome.
I don't know. Who cares?
Oh, that's a good deal. That's probably Ryan's, because Ryan is like the biggest apologist for anything and everything.
Yeah.
Lost.
Oh, hell yeah. You can't say a negative word about that show. He'll be like, what the hell?
Did you see?
It's fun though. I wish I could get that enthusiastic about this stupidness. I can't though.
I kind of can. I don't know. It's.
I'm very much along for the ride.
Yeah, it Lost to me is contained within the hour that it is on television, and then apparently in these podcasts when we discuss it.
Right.
I can't go to boards and read stuff about it.
It beats 24, which is, I know I shouldn't have been trying to watch 24 when I need to get The Wire.
Yes, you
But
do.
it was like I happened to have had the 24 season 1 set in my house that someone loaned me forever and ever and ever, and I like put that on, and it reminded me of like, hey, as bad as Lost can seem, it's a hell of a lot better than this. That was a ridiculous show. 2 episodes in, that was enough for me. It was like an after-school special. You know that shit? Like they make you watch.
Sure, of course.
It's
right.
where you watch after school. It's like telling you about like,
sure,
don't
drink,
don't smoke pot because you're going to end up like a heroin fiend in the next week. It was like that. You know, there's like those girls that get abducted. Jack's daughter gets abducted. It was not. Is that his name? Yeah, Jack Bauer.
If you
Jack
think
Bauer.
this is the ludicrous one, you need to watch the later seasons.
Well, look, how can it get worse than this? Okay, so his daughters get abducted. No, well, first they go and it's like, oh, older boys. And then the older boys, like, fucking slip them roofies. And they're just like, you got, they won't let them go home. And then it turns to full-on abduction. One of them, I stopped watching. It was just going in the background. Next thing I know, one of them got run over by a car and it's got a broken arm. And then she's back in, like, the pedo van. And then the guy's like, here, I'll help the pain. And then he's like shooting her up with heroin to ease the pain. And then like the girl's parents are out looking for him, and they're like pulled over on the side of the road by a cop. And then the same pedo van drives right by. There it goes.
I promise you are not at the ludicrous parts of 24 yet. You really aren't. It gets so much worse.
What about the chick who has somehow gets this high-tech bomb on a commercial airliner? She's flying at 30,000 feet, has no mask or like no suit to deal with the fact that it's like freezing, below freezing temperatures, and then blows herself out the door before blowing up the entire plane. And
you're going to start see like dead people coming back. You're going to see, every stupid ass thing you could possibly
dead
think
people
of.
coming back?
Well, essentially, yeah. Or former bad guys are now good guys, and former good guys are now bad guys. Every lame twist that could possibly happen will happen.
Oh.
It's basically it's like a Roadrunner cartoon every episode.
Is.
It's kind of like he runs until he's like off the cliff and doesn't realize he's off the cliff, and then he looks down and then he falls. So, something stupid happens to Jack Bauer every week, and then he gets out of it at the next.
Well, in the very first episode, he's an FBI or whatever. He shoots his fucking station chief in the leg with like an elephant tranquilizer dart in his office.
Right.
And then when he wakes up,
he's going to shoot a lot of people going forward.
And then it's like, then the next episode, they're all chill again. Like, yeah. Whatever. Okay, so
I've never watched that show, so
that's just a warning.
It's going to have its apologists
do it.
that will write in and hate us for dissing it.
Yeah. Tell me about Ron Paul, too. Send me some videos from Google Video about the gold standard. Which I got.
Okay, where else are we at here before we wrap up?
Shawn and I wanted to... I recently pushed the work of Chris Ware on him, and we need to convince you guys to become lovers.
Yes.
What does he do?
He's a
you need to love it.
graphic novelist.
I've
He's
seen
done,
his stuff at the store.
I guess he comes from like the Daniel Clowes. If you're gonna have to like pick peers that you might be familiar with, like the Daniel Clowes kind of modern life, but like the sad, dark side of it.
Well, I loved 8-Ball.
Yeah.
So if it's got any relation to that kind of thing.
It's darkly humorous, but it's mostly like sad and in ways that are just intensely familiar to you. Even if these are like, it's about like the saddest sacks in the universe. And by sad, I mean either like just pieces of crap or just clinically depressed kind of people. Like, you feel bad for them, and it's not, you don't necessarily think it's their fault that things are going this way. You think someone else built them up this way.
We're selling this thing.
Yeah. No, I know. Well, I'm just giving you fair warning, because like,
I need more guys.
It's funny hearing this. I'm like, interesting. Like,
yeah,
let's go on. I want to hear like your take on it, because.
Well, the first one you gave me was Rusty Brown. So he's got one arc that for Acme Novelty Library, that's the name of the series, called Jimmy Corrigan, which you did earlier, which is I don't know how many quote issues it was, but you gave me a big hardcover.
Yeah, it was like 15 of them.
But the one I read first was the one after that, which was called Rusty Brown, and was just like 3 issues total so far.
Yeah,
remember.
Basically, he self-publishes them in hardcover format for the individual issues, but there's a lot there. They're basically like mini graphic novels, and he's been getting those out at a pace of about 1 per year. So it's 3 into its 17 and up, or 16 and up, was it?
Is that what it is?
So 16, 17, and 18 are out now, and that's for the new story arc. So it's totally self-contained. You could pick it up. You can get it on Amazon or like a local comic shop if it's decent. But
yeah, each of the books are beautiful. Like each one's totally constructed differently. Like they have different, coverage, different stock, different gimmicks to them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He gets away. I was just thinking about it. It was like, because it is ultimately so depressing. There's like almost never any light at the end of the tunnel, at least for the principal characters in the story.
Right.
But there's lights in the world, though.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it's not necessarily, I like, it's kind of it's not like I'm only happy when it rains type of like reason to like the book. I mean, in the same way that I don't know, you've seen, Welcome to the Dollhouse. That guy's like movies that came after that, I think, like Happiness and stuff are a little too much. It's like, okay, this is just a movie about fucked up people in a fucked up world.
Right.
Or like the worst case scenario. It's not like this at all, but Requiem for a Dream. It's just like
no, it
something
does not
to slit your wrist to.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. And like Welcome to Dollhouse, there's enough there where you care for the people, but it's always like
but you can
you're always
laugh too. Yeah.
Right, you're able to laugh at them and stuff.
There's dark humor in this for sure.
But not slapstick, not like Napoleon Dynamite type stuff. I mean, that's not.
No, it's just like juxtaposition of bizarre images that just like they just make you laugh because they're kind of sad or ironic. But
the reason I like it though is because it's not just like if you for one, like Chris Ware is just like the consummate graphic novelist, I think, in my mind. I mean, there are a few others, but he's like the presentation of his books is just incredible. There's nothing at all like it at all right now.
No,
there's no one that does anything like it. And so rather than someone just presenting, like a mediocre artist or even a B-level artist just illustrating stories about people and their day-to-day, trials and stuff, he's communicating a majority of his message through the actual layouts themselves, through his compositional techniques, and there's like a play with the medium there that is like it's crazy that it's taken this long. When you look at it, you're like, wow. I mean, there's all the way back to Winsor McCay and some of the earliest guys, and he's really more inspired by that. You can tell he's more interested in stuff like that than anything contemporary at all. But you look at it and you're like, how is it? It's crazy that it's taken that. It's almost taken 100 years for the format for people to do the things that he's doing in the format. And some of them, I mean, they do go back to the McKay era thing where like he might have an entire page and it will be divided into a number of panels. And basically it depicts a single scene, but each panel is some different point in time. It might not even be like chronological,
right?
But so you're getting a sense of movement and stuff. So as the panels go by, but it's not just a traditional where the character is walking through a static environment and the dialogue's changing. I mean, they could be years and years apart. They might even be 100 years apart in the pictures. But you basically can take in the entire page at a single glance, and on that level, it's communicating something to you about time and about place and all this stuff. And then inside of it, there's like stories within that. So
it's kind of like Family Circus.
It is like Family Circus.
Exactly.
Other tricks he has will be you'll look at the entire page, or you'll start reading in some place on the page, and as you're going through it, you're turning the book this way and that way because he'll create this giant diagram of like interconnectivity between the various figures and stuff of the page, and it still manages to tell a story. So you might see, someone's walking, and then there's an inset of like his wallet, and then there's a picture in his wallet, and then that goes into a drawer, and then the drawer is placed in a house in another point in time, or his hospital, and then that comes out, and it
right, and the
goes
picture
the other
he
way
might,
to a
might tell the
sex doll
story
and go back to his parents, and then.
Yeah.
And then again, it's able to show you like.
And often he does it completely wordlessly, like the house drawings. That I think you're probably referring to. He has big spreads. You just kind of turn the book vertically, and there's this 3-story house, and it kind of tells the stories of each of the characters living there in different points of time by pointing, like you said, like maybe something under the floorboards that the person left there before, so it'll kind of do a little pointer to a box telling that little story, and then maybe they left something in the garden that someone in the present found and is hanging on their wall, and it's complicated.
Those will
and
be
you look
like
at them at first and you're like, what the hell is this? And you stare at them for, I don't know, a good 10 minutes, like just getting these stories of these people out of it. And like I said, it's completely wordless, but sometimes you still learn a lot about these people, and it's amazing.
He gives the building gives the building a character that way, like that. Those specific building stories, that series in the back of the book, they'll be on one page, then you'll skip a page and there won't be one, and then there's another one, another like installment. It's the same house, the layout's exactly the same, but it's like a big jump in time.
Yep.
So then you can flip back and forth between these, and you see how the lives have changed between them. Each page on its own tells a story between the tenants, like on each floor, and the way that they're connecting with one another, or they're not connecting. Kind of like, was it Wings of a Dove or whatever, the movie? And so there's relations on that level. You can go back and forth in the time, and you see the building kind of has a character. But the other thing is, as you're going through these, you might end up. He's so expertly leading your eye around the page, both with the story and not just a traditional, you start comics on the top left and you work your way, scan it basically like text, and you end up somewhere on the page, and there's like the equivalent of, boom, here's this big important piece of this puzzle on this page, and it was in front of you the whole time, but you didn't notice it. Like there's this one, and there's like a underground, there's a coffin. But if you just look, you're like, there's this coffin there. But as you go through it and you read it, and he takes you there, you didn't even notice it, and then you end up and you're like, oh, that's the character. Yeah, that's the end. It's like so many just like fantastic things like that.
His sense of space is I can't even imagine coming up with some of the stuff he does. He's so careful and precise about all of his building layouts. Like even in not in these building stories you're talking about, the layout of the school and Rusty Brown.
Yeah.
Everything is mapped out extremely carefully. In that particular story, he goes so far as to that one's got the main story is kind of on the top of the page, and at the bottom there's this little strip of some other characters going about their lives. And at first you're like, how are these people connected? It's telling two separate stories. About halfway through, it dawns on you that the panels almost have a one-to-one correlation in terms of like what you're looking at. Like if someone's walking through a door in one panel on the top, the other set of characters are walking through a door too. And eventually it all converges into one place. And like sometimes you're seeing things from the opposite angle on the bottom that you were on the top, and it's just when you realize those kind of things, just like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Has he been doing this whole book? And it just kind of floors you.
Right. Yeah, that's the best thing. And you look back and you're like, oh, great. It's kind of like, the great moments when you're watching, Memento or something. And then you're like, let's go back and actually see how well this puzzle is constructed now that I'm aware of what the puzzle's supposed to, what the solution's supposed to be.
This was actually what I was raving to you about with The Wire, that they've got, this 5-season story arc that's been building over the years, and that now that they're at the 5th season and it's been so carefully controlled by a writer with an utterly brilliant grasp of his characters and of the story he wanted to tell, that he's able to, you're able to realize now that things that seemed a little random or whatever in season 2 are now paying off in season 5. But he was so patient with his storytelling that he was able to wait 3 years.
Right.
And just if you're and I don't even pick these things up as stuff I'm reading off the web. It's like from more diligent, people, or people who have watched the episodes 18 times in a row, that he's put it in there as a reward for those who have carefully followed. But you can appreciate it on its own on one level as it is. Sounds a little bit like this.
And like going back to Lost, that's one thing I don't get from that show.
That needs to be seen. Yeah, like if they can convince us at the end that it was all part of the plan.
But right now I'm not feeling it.
And then it could go back, and then even mediocre episodes could become like part of the greatest thing.
I think they bang us over the heads with things that are ultimately unimportant. I think that might be
a lot of red herrings.
That show's legacy, but we'll see. Yeah.
So what's the name of this writer again for people who?
Chris Ware. The books
Ware.
The books are Acme Novelty Library, but you can get the first collection. It's called Jimmy Corrigan, the smartest kid on earth.
Yep.
And definitely recommend all of his stuff. But to continue on that thought, aside from like any kind of a gimmick or anything, just the way he handles space works for me in other ways as well. And it's like, although he uses this flattened sort of elongated perspective that you would see doesn't communicate a great deal of depth when you're looking at things, you always get a very like really well done. It's almost like this isometric thing.
He uses that perspective very much so.
Print tradition, but he always has a very perfect sense of what the world is and where things are placed and how people move through them, and that's like a very basic thing. But the majority of people who illustrate comic books pay no attention to it whatsoever.
Right.
So what you see in the shittiest of comic books, and looking at the superhero ones, it's just runs rampant, is because the illustrators there essentially want to just draw people flexing and posing and stuff, so they just do it, and then the background doesn't matter. And then panel to panel, there's no real sense of continuity. Did he throw his right fist, and did it hit this guy here, and then did it knock him back into the trash can that we know is in this alley because 3 panels ago, and every subsequent panel we've seen it in space exactly where it ought to be. And that's another thing why, Ultimates, the first books by Hitch and Millar were so good, is because like Hitch is perfect at that. He completely tracks all that, and then when there's actually a fight, which is ultimately could be the worst thing in a comic book ever, because if it just is a bunch of people gritting their teeth and flexing, it actually seemed as though there was some choreography there. Mm-hmm. Whereas now the new Ultimates is exactly that. The guy Joe Mad who's doing it is just a complete hack, and the writer's an idiot. So they're so that's garbage. But so what Chris Ware is so good at it, as you're moving through the story, walking through a school, so instead of these grand environments and stuff, they're very normal, they're very, quotidian, to drop a word, and it takes you back. Like the one in the school, it's set in like an elementary school. It's like a junior high. It's like a both. It's got both, and one of the kid's older sisters in the junior high part of it. And the book is presented in this lavish hardcover that looks like something you would maybe get when you're in junior high. It's all embossed and stuff, and it's got like it looks like a yearbook. It's got when you sign in your name when you get the book that year. It's all presented like that, and you're going through the school, and it really transports you. You're like, oh God, I remember all these things, to the way that they have like the inflatable letters and stuff over in the alphabet, to the school lunches and the cafeterias and everything. It's like, it's just for some reason when I read his books, I'm entirely engrossed and immersed in the world.
For sure. Well, I think that's why it was so, like I was saying to me before, depressing to me, because it just hits so close to home in so many levels. I mean, ultimately, I hope I am not as messed up as some of these people in here, but I recognize certain traits, and I'm like, oh man, that was kind of me, and that was kind of the room that happened in.
He's kind of he is the we'll close. You mentioned Art Crumb. All these guys are kind of like self-loathers,
right.
And he's definitely got that going. If you look in the new volumes, the art teacher is actually him.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's supposed to be him in every single way.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, it's clearly not, because he didn't teach elementary or junior high art school. But the physical likeness is exactly him.
Oh, that's interesting.
And if you look at it, it matches up, because he dropped out of art school. Thought it was a total farce, and
it kind of comes through
went on to become the guy he is now. A few other things about him to finish up is that he's. It's incredible to me that it seems like he's so underread. Very few people would even know that it exists. But he makes the rounds among a certain group of people, and that he's friends with Chip Kidd, who's one of the country's, the world's most famous book jacket designers. He does covers for New Yorker periodically. He'll design jackets, Sweeney's Literary Journal.
Right.
He did an edition for them. Edited that.
Right, when I was reading that Michael Chabon book, you were asking me if that was a Chris Ware.
Yeah, it looked like the typeface and everything. He creates his own typefaces, and I mean, every single thing in his book is like all coming from him, and that seemed inspired by him. Another thing is like he's Ira Glass from NPR. He's friends with him, and they did an animated version of a thing called Building Stories, also in a program. But he'll be remembered, I think, long after when all the Joe Mads and stuff are forgotten.
Long forgotten. Good stuff.
That's our recommendation this week.
I recommend it. I'll bring you the books tomorrow.
Right on. I'm looking forward to it.
I've read them very fast. Sometimes when people lend me books, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll get around to this someday. But I opened this up.
I gave you my assurance.
You did. So I trusted you, and I read it, and
couldn't put it down.
Couldn't put it down. A page turner.
Shawn Malloy, GFW.
There we go.
All right, that is it for this week. Anthony, thank you for
thank you guys for
Thanks
having
for
me.
hanging out.
No, it's fun.
You gonna post a picture of your old rooms? Do you got any?
No cameras allowed on the premises.
I got 2 friends and a zoom lens.
Well, you're welcome back anytime.
Dropping stuff.
I just dropped my glasses.
Okay.
Sorry. All right, we'll be back next week. Hey, Shawn, good luck on One Up Yours this week.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. We're just shitting you. He's not quitting GFW. So put away your angry letter to the forums. He's still with us.
He's pulling
at least
double
for a
duty
week until he decides he's too good for us.
And next week is the GDC.
Right.
Oh,
very special last announcement. We hinted at it last week. We're only going to do a little more hinting, only because, not to be teases, but we don't have the official lineup yet. But we are going to be podcasting every single day next week. Yes, we are. From
it's gonna be 8 podcasts.
It's a lot of podcasts for you, dude. That's what you got yourself into. But it's the Game Developers Conference here in San Francisco, the biggest gaming conference of the year, pretty much. I mean, it's kind of eclipsed E3 at this point, at least for a lot of us. So we are going to have game developers, big ones you have heard of, in here on our podcast and on the One Up Yours podcast every single day.
Importantly, together.
So
it's not going to just be a series of one-on-ones.
That's right.
We are trying to pair, create interesting combinations.
Yes, we are.
Of developers and game makers that will be able to have a dialogue with one another as much as they are, answering our questions. And
right. And can we announce any of them yet? The ones
we've confirmed one, but now I'm flaking on which one is confirmed and which one isn't.
Oh, I know. There's some that we have confirmed that we could say. I mean, but.
Yeah, if it is confirmed,
we have Josh Mascara, creative designer from Relic, associated with Company Heroes. You could tell I had something to do with that.
No.
But also Chris Taylor, Gas Powered Games,
right?
Supreme Commander, and
I think we can confirm American McGee, right? Because he's probably I think he's going to be alone with us. I think we're not pairing him up with anybody
one of the few
else.
non-paired.
Right. Yeah. So
and
we can
for scheduling reasons.
Many more that will please everyone.
Yes.
I think all
Right.
people that we admire,
some
talk
huge
about
names.
a lot, and and I can't wait to. Some of them I really can't wait to see how they interact with one another. But this is going to be awesome.
It's going to be a crazy freaking week here at One Up,
and it'll be serious. At least for me, that means no usual antics. It's going to be going hardcore into game talk.
I don't think you could tell your porn stories. Well, you probably can in front of Chris
Well,
Taylor.
it depends. Yeah. Well, some of the guys
depend on the developer,
kind of. So
yeah,
some of you just be like, I can't do that.
Some are.
But I
rip
don't.
off their
There's going to be no
headphones.
need to anyway. There's going to be so much to talk about.
Plenty to
It's
talk
going to be. Yeah.
We're all looking forward to it. So
Let's not let him down.
we will not let you down. It's going to be fun. All right, we'll see you then for next week's madness. Goodbye.